that particular time. And at times you may plan something that does not come to pass, depending on the needs of that which rise without anticipating.
But when he was talking about the equitable distribution, yes, you might be small and then you're receiving much small. But there's been, yes, the growing concern around economic integration. There's been conversation around growth across the country, that some areas, for example, are already, if we were to say middle income status, they're already almost achieving. Some parts of Uganda, when you look at the per capita and just the way of life. And then when you cross over to some areas, the poverty levels, just how much has been done there economically is also totally different.
But I told you that Uganda had 40 years wasted. 40 years. And from NRM time, from 1986 to around 2006, those are 20 years, were also wasted. So the money which could have probably done something something big for the country was wasted. You have to buy ammunition, you have to buy firearms, you have to pay this, so you have to transport them, you have to have fuel for the wars. So those 20 years, the Kone War, I was talking about the Lakwena War, the ADF and these other wars, of course, wasted our money. That's why some areas delayed. You are seeing it in northern Uganda. After achieving the peace, you see how they love NRM now. You are seeing in Lango recently. You wait for Acholi, Western you'll see. Now that they have received the peace, which we had received earlier, now they say, oh, the other years were wasted. We wasted our time with the Kone thing. So that's why they are beginning now. That's how you see in some areas development is beginning because of some years were wasted. But and another thing, Mildred, is and the viewers, Ugandans forget so quickly. We complain about bad roads when those roads had been constructed. For example, I come from Toro, from Toroko to be specific. Mubende Mtiana Road is more or less impassable, but had been done by the NRM government. Chegego Chenjojo Road is also bad, but had been done. It just got spoiled because of the vehicles, the big traffic. So, but we should remember that had been done by the same government. Now we're saying this. And in other areas, roads is something which you can work on and to get destroyed. So development may not be equal, but we are sure with this government that is coming, we are doing here. Next time we shall go there, the other time we shall go there. And we are lucky. I think in very few years, you have been hosting some people here. The oil is coming out from your area, from your region. And we are sure when we get that oil, we shall move faster than the way we are doing. We shall move faster. I believe we shall move faster. Honorable also talked about the gold. But I think according to our constitution, this wealth which is underneath the ground, which is underground, is a mandate of the government. Sure,
but he was talking about
yes,
the taxation. What is government getting out? How are the local people involved?
That is the issue.
Yes, but no, you didn't talk about the taxation. You said you went to Tanzania, the locals were getting... I used to go to Congo, to DRC, in the 80s. And the locals used to go and mine the gold freely, because of course, you know, the government of Congo. But here, our law requires the government to do the mining, but the people there can be involved, to be paid. They can be paid, yes, but they are not supposed to be the miners. I went to Busia with a friend of mine before government took there, I think some investors. There were some locals who were doing some mining. They had invited us to go there and see if we can get involved. We can take their machinery to do the mining. There's also very good gold in Busia. I went there with some friends of mine. But the locals were there busy mining the gold locally using hand tools. But then when it comes to economic mining, you need the government now to come in. The locals have to benefit.
The government is not the one mining. They are Ugandans who are mining, but who own these mines. But the people in Kasanda would like also to
be a part.
Yeah, so you know you can give licenses to people who are connected in government, and you marginalize the locals. So you see, we're in an election year, And I'm telling you what people are saying on the ground is going to affect the voting pattern. Forget about the people who are, because there are lots of people who are campaigning, and I've seen some people who are promising heaven and earth.
Yes.
I'm pointing at areas which, if you had an improvement, you would even as you're the chief mobilizer, you'll be getting votes for your boss. So when he reaches Kasanda, if they start asking him, why can't we mine gold, then he'll know the problem.
And I believe
when he reaches Luwero, right, you're talking about relative. Let me give you a very good example about relative allocation of resources. We talked about representation. The sub-counties here in Kampala, Wakiso, and whatever, have people of 500,000 people, 200,000 people, 300,000 people. I went to bury here in Western Uganda. My friend Musinguzi just passed away recently. And my friend Vesije passed through Punjili, a municipality. It has a population of about 30,000 people. It has an MP. Right? That is, it's not, they're not sparsely populated, but it has an MP. Those imbalances, when you come to allocating PDM and Emyoga, it is allocated according to sub-county, not population.
According to parishes.
Yeah.
Yes, but then the parishes, yeah, but but not population. So if you come to Kasubi here, where you've got a huge population, very few people are getting per capita.
But I think that one has been understood, and the president talked about it, that in Kampala here and Wakiso, they are going to increase.
No, what I'm saying is that I'm not interested in increasing. I'm interested in getting a fair share, my fair share in my area.
And
so
probably
if we
what
have
the government is saying, that if Wakiso has more, instead of giving them a uniform price or uniform cost of 100, let's go take it higher, because then the numbers here are much more.
When I'm talking about per capita, if you're comparing 30,000 people in Rukunjiri and 500,000 people in, say, or 300,000 people in Kasubi, we should expect to get 10 times as much, not an increase. So in politics, you can use words and say we're going to increase from 100 million to 120. That one will not redress the imbalance. So when I'm telling you where that imbalance is, it is reflected in votes.
Okay.
So when these people, and I told you we share disproportionately the potholes. As I said, I went recently to Berry. There's a stage when I reached when I slept quietly. There were no potholes. Then when I was reaching in Chinchizi, suddenly I woke up because we landed in a pothole. Why is it there's an area there are no potholes? And here in Kampala, you have to navigate potholes every Nankani, and it's the national capital. And as I said, 65% of the revenue of the nation is in this area. If you don't do the infrastructure, you reduce the revenue. Relativity is very important. In politics, we can play with words. Somebody can tell we're going to increase. No, I'm not looking for an increase. I'm looking for a fair share.
All right, thank you very much. I want to hold you just a little bit, Mr. Le and Mr. Kalmara. So we want to take our viewers to what is happening at Kololo Independence Grounds, because much later on we will be joining there to see the commemoration of 63 years of Uganda's independence. Shamim, who is on ground, what exactly is happening as is currently?
Independence Grounds, where indeed the celebrations are slated to take place today for the 63rd independence of Uganda, under its own rule, under self-rule, and under its own kind of development ever since it attained that way back in 1962. So today, 9th October, again, Uganda reminds itself of the kind of devotion, of the kind of spirit that many of those that fought for independence fought for at the time, and again, how they need to protect that. Here in Kololo, the expectation is that several independence individuals who are invited, but also the entire public will be here to celebrate the 63 years of Uganda under its own self-rule. One of the critical issues that many have talked about is how the celebrations will have now to entirely be in Kololo, both the celebrations of independence and the celebrations of Heroes Day. These were asked for by the CDF to be exclusive to this particular ground where I am coming to you live from, which has certainly just undergone renovation, like you are able to see shortly in my background. You can be able to see that there was entirely a facelift of where the VIP or VVIP guests, including the president who hosts this main event, will be sitting, but also how it has changed over time. You're able to see some of the guests that have already arrived, and those who are arriving, you're able to see many of them as elders of the country, as elderly men and women arriving at this particular point. But also it does not serve to mean that the youth have been excluded from these particular celebrations of the independence. One of the tents here includes Afro-Arab youth delegation, but also another reads youthful delegation. So it means many other youth within the country, which certainly constitute the largest population, are part of these celebrations here. And we can say we have been able to see some of them. More preparations are ongoing. We expect to see a totally different kind of parade, and in terms of marching, in terms of the numbers on the parade, because that change has been happening since last year when the CDF was entirely constituting new changes within the UPDF or within the command in there. Yesterday, he was one of the individuals that were here trying to inspect the guard, inspecting the entire ground to ensure that it is secure for the celebrations today. And as you come in, you're able to actually see that indeed there was an entire sweep, and the ground must be as secure as expected here at Kololo Independence Ground. Some of the key delegations expected are those that have not been here often, but we expect that the Russian delegation is one of the most critical, expected to be here in Kololo. The delegation from Libya, but also a delegation from the United Arab Emirates. Those are critical delegations as of today, because you expect that also it's known that Uganda has moved towards investment, and when it moves towards investment, you know that United Arab Emirates is one of the critical partners that they are working with in terms of bilateral ties, but also in terms of deals or business investments here and away from the country. And that speaks to why you see them consistently in Uganda, but also part of celebrations like this to celebrate Uganda in itself. And critical things that any other Ugandan would be glad to know today is that only this time around 23 medals will be given to individuals, contrary to several times when medals have exceeded 40 or even 50 sometimes. So now that is entirely exclusive. We can take you around for you to be able to see actually the kind of people or the individuals who are here. If you are able to see on my extreme right, you see individuals who are wearing white entirely. Those are part of the crowds or part of the Ugandans who are expected to witness Uganda in itself celebrate 63 years, but also different individuals. Many of the guests are still arriving, including the entire public. You can see where the parade is supposed to be constituted. The soldiers or the officers who are supposed to constitute the parade are going through their last of the bits of these preparations, and that sounds to mean that maybe they're trying to check their finals. Where do you stand? Where do you not exceed when the parade is happening, or when even the president is inspecting this particular guard of honor today? And those particularly speak to how the preparedness has been moving like and how exactly it will look like. The band has also constituted itself at the extreme end, and they will be starting, I think, in a few minutes from now to ensure that they are giving the kind of entertainment that is supposed or expected to be given on a day like today. Particularly the preparations, yes, the last minute preparations suddenly, including to prepare where the president has to sit and his first lady. All that preparation is still ongoing because there was heavy downpour, and Kololo seems to be wait until now. So most of those are in their conclusive moments as of today. But most of the delegations that have arrived here have been handled already. I can be sure to say that I have seen parts of some of the delegations that are expected here. Foreign missions, I've been able to see 3 individuals from different foreign missions here already being served and being given content about Uganda in terms of books to get to read and understand what about the 63rd independence celebrations here in Uganda and what the plan is for Uganda 63 years later. In the 63 years celebrations for Uganda also coincides, Mildred, with the celebrations, if we like to call them, of Uganda's constitution marking 30 years of age or 30 years of existence, and Uganda itself living under constitutionalism and only changing power through the constitution over time. That speaks to when Uganda in itself started multi-party, but this constitution is one that dates way back in 1995, which was promulgated yesterday, 8th, and certainly it started working or started operations on a day like today after being handed to President Yoweri Museveni, who is still in power today after suddenly different elections that have been held. So critical things we expect to be discussed here and even talked about. I'm certain the president will speak about how Uganda has moved in terms of democracy, but also the constitutionalism, depending on what he deems as right for it. Certainly the democracy serves within it, but that does not reserve it for that. It would also be speaking about Uganda's investment plan and how he is moving to the $500 billion to ensure that Uganda's economics is as clean as expected or is as planned as he looks at it as of now. Also, what we need to know about this particular 63rd independence is one that comes when Uganda is preparing itself for the elections. So the messaging of different individuals, including for the prayers that happened yesterday, the pre-prayers for independence that happened yesterday in State House, called for particularly having elections that are free and fair, elections that are free from bloodshed, and elections that do not disunite the entire nation, Uganda. And those critical messages are expected that some of them will be re-aired by the critical leaders of Uganda, including the president, who is also a candidate in the race. And so being a candidate in the race does not take away the duties that he has to perform as a president, and that's why on a day like today, being a National Day Independence, he will be here and commemorating the 63rd independence with Ugandans. Those are critical details that we think are critical for all Ugandans who are watching NBS television, and certainly we shall be bringing live updates to them, especially on who is here and the particular faces that matter. We know that different individuals that contributed and their families that contributed to the deliverance of Uganda to independence will be part of the celebrations here, but also we are certain many Ugandans would want to see and get to know how different are the celebrations being held this time around. Mildred, back to you at the Political Command Center.
All right, thank you very much, Shamim Nabakoza, for that update. Definitely, we will be getting more and more conversations regarding the 63 years and what it exactly means. Of course, this being celebrated under the theme 63 years of Uganda's independence, a reason to double our efforts in sustaining a united, progressive nation. I think definitely it is a reason to be able to double up that effort. I still do have my guests in studio, but allow us to take a very short commercial break. When we do return, we'll continue with this conversation. Also key around the conversations is the political conversation of the country, the politics playing out, and especially that now we're headed into a general election next year. Let's get back.
We need to do more in terms of growth. If you move over to slide 5, you I think okay. If you move over to
You may not be in control of nature's timing, but with a sure thing connection, you're in control of how you work.
The Electoral Commission informs the public that nominations for the 2026 general elections will take place as follows. Presidential candidates 23rd to 24th of September 2025 at Lubowa, Reza. Members of Parliament from 15th to the 16th October 2025 at the gazetted district/city nomination centers. Local government 3rd to the 24th of September 2025 at gazetted district and sub-county nomination centers. All aspiring candidates are reminded to carefully follow the official guidelines. Nomination forms and details are available at district, city offices or on www.ec.or.ug.
Sad moments, and more especially death, are inevitable, but malaria deaths do not have to be one of them. Do not regret. The power to chase mosquitoes lies in your hands. Mosquitoes lead to death. One bite could cost you everything. All you have worked for will be left behind. Your children will be left in the hands of no one. All property will not protect you. Sadly, your friends and family will move on. Protect yourself and your loved ones from mosquito bites. Sleep under a mosquito net every night. Clear bushes and stagnant water around your home and close all doors and windows by 6 p.m. The power lies with you.
The biggest street party in East Africa is finally back! KCCA presents the Kampala City Festival 2025 to be 12th October. Come and join the diverse culture of Kampala. Food, art, music, and much, much more. Get ready to enjoy lots of entertainments from big and good artists from all over Uganda. The theme of the day will be culture, innovation, and sustainability. On 12th October 2025, procession will start on Buganda Road near CPS, straight up to Kololo. Proudly sponsored by
It's time to break free with Azam TV. Grab yourself a full kit at 80,000 shillings or an Azam decoder at 40,000 shillings. Experience the thrill of every goal in La Liga, Italian Serie A, German Bundesliga, and the excitement of live sports action from the Saudi Pro League and Carabao Cup on Azam Plus and Play Package in HD. Your favorite China Uganda movies on Chamuka TV on Azam Pure for just 13,000 shillings monthly. Unlock a world of sports and entertainment with Azam TV, the most affordable pay TV around. Visit any of our agents or call 0312-308-900 for more details.
Azam TV, entertainment for everybody.
All right, welcome back and thank you for keeping it NBS Television. You're still watching the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show. Yes, as you can see our background, it's 63 years of Uganda's independence today that we celebrate under the theme, A Reason to Double Our Efforts in Sustaining a United and Progressive Nation. Happening today, the national celebrations will be at the Kololo Independence Grounds, especially at the very spot where the Union Jack was lowered and the Ugandan flag was hoisted. With me in studio, I still have Honorable Waswalule with me here, a veteran politician, and Mr. Mesha Kawamara, who is a presidential advisor, mobilization. Speaking about what we've been able to go through over the time. Earlier, as we took a break, we were talking mainly about issues, economy, issues, what goes to the Ugandans' pocket, what they feel about it. But then there is the politics. Although we cannot separate politics and economy, but politics is where you are having the conversations made, is where you're having the leaders representing the ideas and ideals of the people. And we are heading into a political, an election next year. We're in the political season. I'll start with you, Mr. Kamara. How do you think we have fared politically? Because there's been a lot of conversation about multi-party dispensation, because at the beginning we were in a single-party state, especially movement system. When this government took over power, there are parties that had existed earlier on, but that had been swept away. We've had a lot of conversation about opposition politics and the terrain within which they do operate in the country.
Thank you very much, Mildred. I think President Museveni has made things easier for Ugandans. Very easy.
Okay. How?
I'm coming to that point.
All right.
The freedom, the peace, and security in this country has enabled everybody to feel that she can participate. She can move anywhere and do anything. Now, when you talk about politics, you can see now we have 7 other presidential candidates. And I think about 300 had picked nomination forms.
Yeah, over 200.
Over 200, you can see. Everybody can say, I can become one, I can be a member of parliament, I can be a president, because it's like the democratization of the gun. When President Museveni took over, he democratized the gun, so that Ugandans don't fear the gun again. Because I remember in the past, Wasalore is older than me. In the past, you would see someone with a gun, you just run away. Just run away. But these days, you sleep with the gun, you move with someone, he's seated there, you move in the same car, in the same bus, because President Museveni trained Ugandans to know that the gun is your friend. The person holding the gun is your friend. The gun is there to protect you. So it is like politics. President Museveni simplified it. That's why everybody is coming up. Everybody can talk anything. When I see people complaining here that there's no freedom of speech, and I see the same people abusing the president, calling him names, mentioning names of his family members, talking about his wife, talking about his son, talking about his in-law, and then they come out and say there's no freedom of speech in Uganda. I fail to understand. That's the democracy you're talking about. That's the politics, the good politics. Yesterday, for those who were in Entebbe, in State House, and those who watched, when Chris Rakasis was giving that testimony, you could see it taught us who President Museveni really is. Someone who had murdered people from his family, his relatives. You remember what the Obote government did in the past? For me, I was old. In Obote too, I was very old. As I told you, we wouldn't move through Mobende, along Mobende Road, we would go by train because of the insecurity. So here comes that kind of freedom. When I was looking at Rakasis, because I know Rakasis, in 1984, he came to Fort Portal. They were still campaigning because we were expecting elections in 1985. There were supposed to be elections, that's why you remember. We were supposed to have elections in this country in 1985 because they were supposed to be every 8 years. We had elections in 1980, the next elections were supposed to be in 1985. So UPC was moving around campaigning. So Chris Rakasis came to Fort Portal in 1984. And you remember that time President Museveni, before he became a president, was still in the bush. And some team, NRA fighters, were crossing from Luwero to the Rwenzoris. So I think they didn't understand, or if they did, they wanted, it was just propaganda. And I attended that rally at the Kabarole Public Library. I was there, 1984. Said, you people, I hear people here. At that time, Kabarole was DP. I remember there was a DP leader. He's now late, a certain Movito man called Gafabusa. He was a leader of DP in Kabarole. He made them sit down. And then he said, you people, you're running with something which is empty. Museveni is being pushed on a wheelbarrow with his fighters. They are now running, going towards the border with Congo. They are running to Congo. That was 84. And 85, at that time we were still under Bundubujo district. And because they come from Ntoroko, Bundubujo was liberated. July 25th. So you see, 84, President Museveni and his team are running out of the country, but 85, we are liberated. And then Kabarole was liberated and later on. So you can see, but all that notwithstanding, he's a free man. He can come and testify. That wouldn't be seen in the past. So the politics of Uganda now, I can say, have reached the maturity stage with President Museveni on the driving wheel. And I believe we have learned a lesson as Ugandans, that for those, some of us who are old, and those who are older than me, like Waswanule, who saw those governments, what happened, how you couldn't move, how you couldn't talk, how you couldn't even move out into, how you couldn't go even to a bank, withdraw money and move with it. How, for us, we are cattle keepers. You wouldn't go to the market and sell your cow and move freely. We had some informers, some youth wingers of UPC. They would stay there when you sell, and some of them had even entered the cattle business. They would come and give the price for your cow, say, this one I'm buying at such and such amount of money. And you sell and move on. So the life was very temporary, but now you can be sure. That's why the people now can live.
Okay.
Wasaludi is telling me that he's 76. And I'm
Life expectancy is what you're looking
Yes,
at.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Our small kids now can live. No polio, no what. In the 80s, these small kids would die like anything. Now the immunization exercise, because politics is not about the money alone. The life, you have to value life. You have to make sure that your people live. You have to make sure the children, when they are born, they can grow. They can be immunized. They can go to school. That's the politics. They can go to school. Then they can be supported. After growing, they get supported. President Museveni started with Ntandekwa, Bona Bagagawale, NADS, Emyoga, OWC, YLP, UWEPU, Emyoga, now PDM, supporting the communities. That's the politics. The good politics of this country.
Okay.
As much as we want the road, but we need people. That's why you see him telling people that you can't sleep on that road. You can't cover yourself with the road, even if it's tarmac. You need money in your pocket. That's why we encourage our people to work.
Okay.
When you hear that we are doing mobilization, when they say so and so is a senior president, we don't mobilize people for votes alone. We mobilize people to enter money economy, to work hard. We mobilize people to take their children to school. We mobilize people to take their children for immunization. That's the mobilization we talk about. And that's the good politics.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Wasole, before we get to speak to Mugenyi, who is also in Kololo, when you look at the politics of the country and what the episodes that we've gone through, what memories come back and where we at when we talk about independence and the politics of the country?
It's very good. I'll match that with the statements he has made about the quality of life. The quality of life then and the quality of life today. We have Mulago Hospital. It's a government hospital. It came out of some colonial fund. What is the equivalent today? The cost of going to a hospital, I have a friend who is in hospital. He's a politician, an NRM politician. And he went to Mulago, surprisingly. But the bill he had to pay was over 10 million shillings. The cost of medical care compared to the incomes of people, the highest paid people in this country are non-productive politicians, the members of parliament. You are talking about the number of people who are participating in politics. But participating in doing what? They are totally unproductive. They are there, and people don't see the quality of their output. So if we had government hospitals that we used to have, you could go to Mulago and be treated free, and you get quality. Now, if you go to Mulago now, there's a risk that you might pick up an infection. I had one of my uncles was in one of those. He had serious complications, but where he was, the hospital was leaking. So if we could have a government hospital, say like in Rubaga, it would and the prices were enough for such that the common person cannot. A relative of mine also went for another also operation. They asked for 30 million. So just the thought of going into a hospital and the medical treatment is enough to make you sick. That is now the quality of life.
Okay.
We talked earlier about security. I'll bring out one incident in my village in Mubaka, North. You have this new phrase now, a gari. Okay. People pass a gari through. When you find a group of youths, 60 youths being tracked by the police, they pass the gari through Lunguja. This is in Kampala.
I want to hold you just a little bit, Honorable Wasole, just slightly. I will start off. I will start from right at that particular point in time. But allow me join my colleague, Henry Mugenyi, who is coming to us live from the Kololo Independence grounds with a different conversation. Henry, good morning to you. Who is turning up at the event and what should we be expecting? What does the program look like for the day?
Thank you very much, Madrid, and everyone that is watching NBS this morning. I'm coming to you live from where the Union Jack was lowered for us to raise the Ugandan flag at the Independence grounds in Kololo. But I'm going to be speaking to the different dignitaries that have come in. I'm at the VIP section right now, but I'll first speak to Afande Baine just to let us in on how the day is going to look like. Afande, very good morning. Happy Independence.
Yeah, happy Independence. Good morning, dear viewers. Today is the 63rd Independence anniversary. It is a very special day as a country. Of course, we know the forces, our contribution mainly is about parade. Like today's parade is unique compared to the previous ones because on Independence we do two unique things compared to other ceremonies. There is what we call the trooping of colors. The president comes before the colors join the parade. The colors join the parade when the president has come. And of course there is the memorial flag which has to be hoisted by the president after he has inspected the parade. And of course finally at the end of it all we have what they call beating the retreat. There is a special tune which demonstrates the celebration of independence as a country.
As a country, we are making 63 years of independence. What have they been like for you?
Well, of course, at a personal level, I was born 3 years after independence. Now you can see I am of age. I am of age. I have grown in an independent Uganda, studied an independent Uganda, and I have worked for over 30 years in an independent Uganda. So it is so special. Of course, as institutions, I want to tell you that like sometime 98, I was a guard commander in this very ground, and it was not even tarmac. But now you can see we have tiles, we have a pavilion. Very many things have been changing. Even the population changing. We used to rely on this tent alone, but now we have the pavilion, we have this tent, we have a stretch of tents. So every other time there is an improvement as a country. And of course, this is a special year. As you know, we are preparing to elect our leaders, and this is one way of examining what we have been doing and how we want to move forward as a country.
As we move forward as a country, what should the viewers expect from today here at Independence Grounds from the forces, but also everyone across the world?
Well, the expectation is to be reminded that Uganda is our country. We can no longer give excuses for the problems that we are going through. We are responsible. After 60 years, you cannot still blame the people who started. We have ourselves to blame. We have ourselves to put ourselves together and move our country where we want it. And we must demonstrate the love for our country, because there is no any other country that will be our country except this country.
Love your country. Different dignitaries are coming in here at Kololo Independence Grounds. Thank you very much, Afande. And I will be moving on to speak to the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu. Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu is one of the few religious leaders that have kept time this early morning. Doctor, a very good morning.
Good morning to you.
Happy Independence.
Thank you so much. Happy Independence.
The Ugandans that are watching you today are wondering, you're a very good timekeeper from all the others that are supposed to be in this tent. What does that really tell?
You know, one of the reasons why we are lagging behind is we don't respect time. Time is money, and also it's an issue of integrity. So that's why I am here early, because the card indicates I should be here by this time.
Should be here by this time. We're celebrating the 63rd independence. You've been around, you've seen it. How are we performing as a country from a religious perspective?
We are so grateful to God for the 63 years of independence. There is a lot of achievement, definitely in the area of infrastructures, the area of people. We are so grateful. However, we have a lot which must be straightened. 63 years from the religious perspective, we must invite God to forgive us as a country, because there has been a lot of good things, but also as human beings, there are bad things. 63 years we have had fightings, bloodshed, corruption. We have had a lot of hatreds, unforgiveness. And so as we celebrate 63 years, we must ask God to help us that we have economic independence. We must have definitely spiritual independence, whereby Ugandans we learn to forgive one another. We forget the past. We learn to work together. There shouldn't be anything to do with fighting one another, discriminating one another. As we celebrate 63 years, this should be really given attention. Tribal conflicts, these are not good things. And now, since we are in a season of election, we should really ensure that there is peace. Because Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, Jesus teaches, blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called children of God. If we celebrate 63 years and we don't value peace, freedom, we don't value respect for one another, regardless of one who is a political party, religion, or tribe, then that celebration is not good. So celebration should mean there is maturity, whereby people are mature. Say, I come from Bukunja, from Mukono, I respect somebody from Masaka, I respect somebody from Jinja, from Lango, from Shigezi. This is what is meant by independence. If we say we are celebrating independence, but we are still fighting each other, corruption is still high, education needs to be revisited, teachers are still demonstrating, and others are saying they should be actually kicked out. No, they should be invited, discussion is done, dialogue, to find out what's the problem, what has gone wrong. So independence calls for discussion, dialogue, maturity, spiritual development, whereby we love God. Because we have a good motto for God and my country. It should be respected.
We have a very good motto for God and my country, and we're celebrating God, or as a country we've given ourselves to God. But the fight against corruption for the last 63 years of independence, what is your take on this? Have we fought enough to end corruption? We're still losing over 10 billion annually due to corruption. What more needs to be done?
That has been the point I've already made, that spiritual development, economical development, these are things to do with the heart. Because if we have a good motto for God and my country, but still corruption is high, so that must be given attention as we enter into the 64th. But we thank God, there is a lot of good things. A lot has been done. You can see some roads are good. You can see the city. But there are certain things which should be given attention, especially in the area of our relationship with each other, our relationship with God. And this is very important from my perspective.
Dr. Stephen Kazima Mugalu, the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, is already here in Kololo at the different VIPs. I am at the VIP section. To you that is watching me today, I'm also a VIP, and I'm speaking to different people that are here. A very good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Nice. You're coming out with black, yellow, red. What does this really mean for you?
It means a lot for me. You see, I was already a big person when we were liberated from what? From the colonialism. So I'm very, very happy to be here. It is now 53 years since independence. For us, independence means a lot to us. And now, because we are independent, we have also managed to do wonderful things. I'm Mrs. Prudence Okunika, the one who manufactures better wine. Better wine. Those days, a woman could not do what I'm doing. But because we are independent, the colonialists went back, we are recognized as human beings. If we were not independent, we wouldn't be where we are now. That's why we are celebrating it. That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. We are live on NBS television to those that are seeing you right now. But women empowerment in this journey, the 63 years of independence, you're one of those that have really stood out very strongly to build up your brands. How has this really happened? How has the government really helped you?
The government has helped us, has recognized us as women. Those days women were supposed to be in the kitchen. Women wouldn't be here among the VIPs in Ikororo. That wouldn't be there. We are so grateful for this government, for President Yoweri Museveni to recognize us women. We are empowered. That's why I'm a manufacturer. I managed to do a wonderful things because you are recognized. But those days we were handicapped. We could not do anything. Those days women were mistreated by men. We were nothing, but now we are equal. And we have fulfilled, we are equal because we are all doing wonderful things. Not that we are equal and men are doing greater things than us, but we are also doing things which men can also do. So we are so grateful, and I know it is going to be there forever. President Museveni has showed a very good example that women are also human beings. Women also have brains, they have skills. They can also do wonderful things. We have developed our country. Okay, thank you so much, NBS.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Belawine Manufacturer. Like I said before, many VIPs have really turned in here at Kololo Independence Grounds as we celebrate our 63rd birthday or 63rd anniversary or independence as a country. A very good morning. Happy independence.
Independence nungi nnyo. Era okutuuka wakati empezeza emyaka 63 mu independence.
Wakuzaala mwaka gwa independence?
Mu 62.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Independence etegeeza ki gy'oli wabula n'abalabi bonna abali awo?
Kuba independence etegeeza kakati tuli bulungi. Omanyi omunaku gavumenti ekusasula ddembe. Jasi n'atakuggyako bibyo n'atakola ki. Era twebaza nnyo ne president. Kubanga yente y'abaana ekiwuka ekitaluma yente y'abaana atukoze bulungi kuba bw'osoma ku byawandiika Yoweri Ssuula emwegamba nti mwabakadde mukuuma abaana bammwe n'abaana bammwe bakuuma abaana baabwe nti ekyo kyali kibaddewo enzige zaasooka okujja Honorable Sempija n'azirwanyisa abatamiivu ne bateekawo kafiyu abatamiivu ne bawoowoola covid najja Yoweri n'amulwanyisa kati nsi bwe neemulemera kale sebo.
This is the conversation that is happening here at Kololo Independence Grounds. As the different VIPs, different dignitaries, different medalists, different diplomatic delegates, and the different people that have been invited here in Kololo, we shall be speaking to them, letting them in on what is happening, but also letting you know of what their perspective on independence is looking like. But back to you, Mildred, and everyone that is watching NBS right now at the Political Command Center, coming to you live from Kololo.
Thank you very much, Henry Mugenyi, for that update. I will definitely be getting back to you. The dignitaries are starting to get settled in ahead of the celebrations that will be taking shape in not too long from now. But I do still have Mr. Misha Kawamara, who is the Presidential Advisor Mobilization, Senior Presidential Advisor Mobilization. But I do also have Honorable Waswale. As we were going, we were still talking about our political transitions and the history of our politics that you were actually talking about, and you were making specific reference to Egali connotations here.
Lubaka. But then also, when I'm talking about, I'm asking for government hospitals to be provided per population area. Now when I thought back, I realized why people in government are not very serious about this thing. Because a lot of them now go for medical treatment abroad. It's standard. You get a cough, you go to Kenya. If it's slightly more serious, you go to South Africa. It's slightly more serious, India. And you see, the amount of resources that are spent on an individual for treatment abroad, or for somebody to go and give birth because they don't trust our local hospitals, and these are relatives of very big men, it's a problem. This security issue also, why sometimes it's not appreciated. I don't, even when I was working in government, I didn't have a bodyguard. But now, right, I feel like maybe I should be having a bodyguard, but I can't afford one. So I recognize these security issues. But if you are moving around with a bodyguard, you might not. And that's where the problem is. So the people out there, the public, are suffering from some of these excesses. The people in government, because I see even the convoys, government official, right? Forget about the presidency. His convoy is long enough, or maybe too long. But other officials, they have 3, 4, 5. When I was in government, I didn't have a second vehicle, right? I could move around, I could conduct the investigations as an IGG and what. But now people, you know, it's a status symbol. It's a bit like the 1986 Kadogo walking behind the commander. So even businessmen started emulating the same. They hired a Kadogo to carry their briefcase and he would be following. You see, you can see the transformation of society. Things that were not there that become fashionable.
Happening. But what could be the gains? Because like we said earlier on, yes, there is definitely better after good. There is even best after better.
Yes.
But what do you look at as some of the gains that we could have achieved politically from 1962 to where we are today?
Well, there have been ups and downs. From 86, there was a 20-year period, as my friend said, where there was some turmoil. So we've had relative stability.
For the last about 40 years.
For the last about 35 years, let's say. But where we're heading, why I keep pointing at some of these issues, we're now going back if we don't address these issues. So if we talk about people who are who brought this government into power, and they've not got what they expected, right? That is going to cause instability. These hospitals, right? We do the hospital in Lubaga, in Makinde, Sabakabo, where you've got this dense population, and the price should be reasonable. Somebody should not fall sick simply because of the fear of going to hospital, right? So the quality of life, there were improvements, there were gains, but now there's some negativity. And I think as well, that has always been there, will always be in any society, is corruption. But I once talked about corruption being licensed. But when you look at the way business is being conducted in government, the Mabati iron sheets, poor Nandutu and who else, the two people being taken, being taken to court, right? When you're talking about 30, 40 senior government officials. So when somebody says, it seems a bit licentious, but says that corruption is licensed, that I think is an example.
Okay.
And the other thing as well is when we talk about corruption, you look at the monetization of politics and you wonder, look at the primaries and the amount of money that was spent. You begin to wonder where, because I look at these people, you do some research on them, some of them don't have chickens at home or anything, any productive entity.
For a sort of investment, right, that could relieve of them.
Or even assets that they inherited that they could translate into liquidity. But people are spending billions to be in politics, to go into politics, to earn hundreds of millions of shillings when there's an important decision to be made. So when you're talking about corruption being licensed, that's another example where corruption is licensed. Important decisions are being made in parliament and people are getting 100 million shilling payoffs. Now, really, I don't think that's as an example of leadership.
Okay.
If you're looking at one of the low points of our NRM government over the 40 years, I think that one is probably one of the lowest of the low.
All right. Mr. Kawamara, any gains that you want to point out to and how we could even make them better? Because like Honorable Waswale did mention that, yes, there are good things happening, but if they're not protected, like NRM you're choosing to say protecting the gains, then they could be distorted in the near future.
That's true. Thank you very much, Mildred. You see, I wanted to respond on that issue of medicine in health facilities. If you could visit one of these health facilities and look at the patient attendance book, you'd understand that these health facilities are doing some work. Not everybody goes to Nairobi, not everybody goes to South Africa, not everybody goes to India or USA. They use our health facilities. And I think it is up to the leaders, as she's saying, to protect the gains. Because me, I was an RDC. Whenever National Drug Authority would deliver drugs in the hospitals or health centers, I was in Chegegwa. I would get alert on my phone that we have delivered this amount of medicine to Chegegwa Health Center 4, this to here, to all the health center 3s.
So you can be able to follow
up. You can easily make a follow-up. And I think even up to now, they get alerts. So it is up to the leaders. Because if you don't follow up, you know our people. Some of those people, medical practitioners, have clinics. They take the same medicine because local leaders are not doing their work. President Museveni has been talking about this. That's why he brought, because he said when he came from the bush, we had the parish chiefs, the Bamuluka chief, the Bakungu, the sub-parish chief. So he said, no, let the communities elect their own leaders.
Okay.
We have LOC 1, we have LOC 2, we have LOC 3. We have councillors. Why don't you visit the health center nearest to you? Why don't you check the record book, the medicines or the drugs which were delivered by NDA, how it has been utilized? Why do you give it to them?
So it's about conscientization of the people to know what their rights are.
Yes, to protect the gains. We have to protect. It's not a matter of just speaking. We had a bishop from your place. He died some time ago. He came to our church. He was our bishop. He said, "Tukuli kubaza kuonka, tukuli kuzina kuonka, wetu kukora."
It's not just about speaking, but doing it.
Action.
Action, yes.
So our leaders, please, visit those health centers. Visit at all levels so that you can protect the gains.
All right.
See the roads, the contractors, if they are working on a road, if they are working on a bridge, go there. Are they doing the right job? These schools they are constructing. The constructors at times connive with the engineers, with the cows and hoes, and eat the man and do haphazard work. Visit there. Stop them. But people they just want to share. Why don't you visit and stop? So protecting it against, we have to do it collectively. It's
action altogether.
Action, yes.
Well, our time is really fast spent, but as we get to conclude, Honorable Waswale, as we move forward, today we're celebrating 63 years. It's not too far away from probably a century. Maybe one day we'll be seated here and we're celebrating a century. What do we need to focus on as a country? Because like we say, Uganda is our home. We celebrate her, but we drive her growth as well together.
Well, like I said, there are areas that need improvement. Another, of course, issue that keeps being talked about is land and land evictions and land theft. One of the positive things that we passed in the Constitution, as part of the Constitution making process, is a land fund to free that impasse between the landowner but in this area of the country it has not been applied. It was resisted because it was marketed in a way that would infringe on property rights. If it was not marketed in a way that would infringe on property rights, it would be very welcome. But it was politicized very negatively. So there are aspects, there are gains, there are very many gains, but sometimes some of these issues are presented in such a way that is negative.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. The presentation is key, but also protecting them in a way that they're not distorted is very important.
Yes, and also protecting the gains, because wherever you have gains, you have to now say we're going forward, what's going to happen? What we're looking at, to be blunt, is a change of leadership at the top. But my worry is that you'll get a change of leadership and we'll go backwards.
Go back to where
particularly in issues like I said, Luwero. It's good they put some money for compensating cattle in eastern Uganda and northern Uganda. But people like I also had large farms and their cattle was eaten. One of my former LC1 chairman, his cattle were eaten by us actually.
Has he reported?
Yes, he has. Yes, and his claim, I've seen it, he has received nothing. And I don't think that he'll be very happy for having contributed to this war, right?
Yeah.
And you have to really ask yourself, where did this war start from? You tell us about 26 people went to the bush.
Okay.
One of them started in my compound in Nungujia. Was one of those 26, right? So people participated and they've seen nothing.
Maybe that's a reevaluation now that needs to be coming forward, especially with the current government. And definitely as we wind up moving forward, looking at the things that are threatening the gains that you seek to protect today, where do we continue as a country?
Now that we are entering the election period, I want to appeal to Ugandans. If we want to protect the gains, if you want to move. See, when you test something, when you get something you have tested, you don't try something you have not tried, you have not tested. You can be forced to, but I think as Ugandans, we are not forced by any condition, by any circumstances. So I appeal to Ugandans, much as we want to protect the gains, now that we are entering the campaign period, January is not far. As we are about to come to the end of this show, I want to appeal to you to continue supporting President Museveni, to campaign for him, all leaders at all levels to campaign for him, to support him and the NRM. All NRM leaders, please come out and support President Museveni. All Ugandans, we have seen what he has done. He has been moving around. You see how calm he is. You see, President Museveni is really a tested leader. When you look at him when he's addressing a rally, you see a man who is settled, someone who is calm. He is always smiling. He's not worried at all by any circumstances. He knows there are these other challenges, but he takes them easy. So I appeal to you people, support President Museveni, support NRM. You will not regulate it because we have seen. And all these things, these challenges, the roads, the rest, what Wasal has been talking about, and these people have not been playing the war claimants. I think they will receive, because you can see now, Teso is going to receive later now. So even those people, let them register with the RDCs. Let them, even after.
Maybe better late than never.
Yeah, better late than never, yes.
Better late than never,
yes.
maybe.
No, but that's why I'm saying it's a very serious issue. Let's not really undermine it.
No, I'm also not undermining it.
Yeah,
that's why I asked you, has he reported? Those people should report to the office of the RDC or RCC.
Then some of the monies, because President Museveni was here in Wakiso, I'm talking about some of that compensation.
Okay.
And he was talking publicly about 1 million shillings.
Gentlemen, yes, we need
people
to
who held
conclude
guns.
this.
That's very dangerous.
Yeah, sure. But, well, we need to conclude this conversation. There are continuous conversations about our country, shaping it and making sure it gets better. Thank you very much, Mr. Osole. Honorable, once one, Oro is one.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you very much, Mr. Message Kawamara, who is a senior presidential advisor in charge of mobilization. We're taking a break, and of course, I will be handing you back to Shamim Nabakoza, who is in Kololo. And when we do return after that, we'll also be involving into now deeper the economics and rule of law conversations with Professor Mondo Kagonyera. But Shamim, what is coming in later on as we draw closer to probably officially starting off with the program?
Mildred, as we draw closer to the main start of this particular event, the call has been for the entire parade to now form up, and if you're able to see in the background, like we shall be showing you later on, the parade is forming, and the organization is currently taking shape for all individuals to ensure that they are in the right place at the right minute, as being said. Now, that particularly you're seeing is the parade, but also the band in itself trying to form up for what will be coming up shortly at the start of the main events. But we can be certain to tell you that the commemoration of the 63rd independence here in Kololo is not exclusive to only Ugandans who are watching NBS television, but also those who are here, who we shall be speaking to, especially looking at the determination and unity of many Ugandans to try to understand, particularly what, again, 63 years later, what will be the course of action for many of the Ugandans. What is it that ought to be celebrated? What are the key issues that ought to be looked into or looked out for in these particular celebrations? And certainly, there are critical individuals that we would like to get to speak to and get to understand from them, particularly on the 63 years of Uganda, what is out or what is on the radar for many Ugandans to pick from. And we want to pick from the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda, who is Professor Augustus Niwoga, but to understand from him particularly 63 years later, not just as a governor but as a celebrated economist, what particularly do we ought to understand from him? Deputy Governor, good morning and thank you for speaking to NBS Television. We would want to know from you, 63 years later, Uganda celebrates 63 years later. What is it that you as an economist, but also as Bank of Uganda, would you want to commit to Ugandans, but particularly to make Ugandans understand what is it economically that has to be celebrated in the 63 years?
Thank you very much. The day today, which is 9th October 2025, Uganda is celebrating the 63rd independence anniversary. This marks the period when Uganda took over its own leadership and take the path transforming the economy. So what has happened from that time is that the economy has expanded. You can imagine now GDP is $61.3 billion, and I think at the dawn of independence, the GDP was less than $1 billion. The economy has continued to transform. The industrial sector has expanded. The services sector has expanded. Actually, the services sector and the industry are the one currently driving the Uganda's economic growth. So our economic growth is currently 6.3%. We are thinking that by next year, we shall be growing at 7.0%. The revenue collection has improved significantly. We have got the phenomenal increase in energy, especially the production of energy now toward 2,147 megawatts of electricity. Remember, at independence it was below 250 megawatts. But now we are estimating over 2,000 megawatts of electricity. So this is a tremendous potential for driving industrialization. And for infrastructure, the road infrastructure has increased also significantly. So what really has happened is the laying of the basis for economic transformation. The agricultural sector, which is the sector that employs majority of the population, over 70% of the population, is the one that needs now to have value addition, so that we go to agro-processing, and then we transform most of the people who are still engaged in the agricultural sector.
How reflective is that, especially in the pockets of Ugandans, a local Ugandan who is not employed in the public sector, who is not employed in government or even private sector? How reflective are the 63 years in terms of economic discovery for them?
What has happened is that the macroeconomic growth, what you call the national or the fundamentals that command the growth at the national level, must come down now to be experienced at the household level. So we need now to transform these economic gains to household level. And what we are thinking, what we are working on now is what we call local economic development. We have got a strategy now, and we are implementing it through the Ministry of Local Government, so that the gains at the macro level can be experienced at the household level, so that the households can clearly identify with this growth. That's why you have programs now like the parish development model. What the PDM is doing is to ensure that we monetize the economy. We partake, we make sure that the households partake of these gains at the macro level. And then when we talk about macroeconomic development, then the grassroots people, the people at household level can clearly identify with this growth. This is absolutely the purpose of this program.
Moving forward, how do you want Ugandans to discover themselves and attain the kind of economic independence away from being dependent certainly on different government programs, some of them, but also dependence on different individuals?
You see, what happens is that, and this is what I've been telling Ugandans, every household must engage in an economic activity. This is when you can really participate in what we call the macroeconomic growth we are talking about. Every household must engage in an economic activity. You cannot be a head of household and you wake up in the morning, there's no economic activity you are engaged in, and you expect growth in your home. This is impossible. So what we need to do is that each household must engage in an activity that brings money in the household. And once everybody does that, then we can aggregate these activities, and this is when we can say there's been growth. But when we continue having growth dominated by just a few people, without this growth coming at household level, it is going to be exclusive growth. So what we are advocating and what I have been advocating is to embrace what we call this cottage sector. Cottage industries are smaller industries where each household engages in some kind of manufacturing. It can be pancakes, it can be making chapati, it can be ground nuts, it can be any activity at your level. That everybody, the Bible says everybody has potential. Everybody has a talent. Everybody can do something. That's what the Bible says. You cannot just be there and you don't have any talent. So let's have and identify the talents we have. Let's identify the opportunities available. That each household, let me repeat it, engages in an economic activity, and that's when you can clearly identify with the growth that we are talking about.
Many thanks, Deputy Governor, for speaking to us, and critically speaks to how individuals have to understand how they have to protect, especially the key issues of talent, how you can be in position to earn out of talent, but also how you need to deal with the economic independence as that. I want to speak to one of the members of parliament to get to understand from him the legislature where he sits is critical. But today, as Uganda celebrates the 63 years, also the constitution in itself has marked 30 years. That happened yesterday. I want to hear from you, Honorable. It is independence, yes, but where you sit, the legislature, the constitution that was made in the walls where you sit, marked 30 years. How would you evaluate Uganda's constitutionalism today?
Thank you very much. My name is Swala Fadil. I'm member of parliament representing the people of Tingei County, Kapchorwa. We are here in Kololo Independence Ground to celebrate the 63rd independence. Actually, this is out of the peace we have enjoyed, ushered in by our beloved President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I know we would not do this if it wasn't because of peace, if it wasn't because of stability, if it wasn't because of good governance. So we are here to usher in the 63 Independence Day today. And I think you have seen very many Ugandans are here. It's not only members of parliament, you have seen categories of people. You can see the pavilion is full. People are ready to celebrate. And that is out of peace. So as we protect the gains, we are also celebrating the peace in our country, Uganda.
Honorable, part of the protection of the gains you're doing is ensuring that the constitution lives, is alive. In parliament where you sit, it was made. It is now 30 years old. How would you evaluate constitutionalism in Uganda? Does it still reflect with the people of Uganda today?
Yes, constitutionalism in Uganda, for me, according to me as a member of parliament, I evaluate constitutionalism because you can see how Uganda is experiencing democracy now. You can see the democracy, the election. We are towards the election time. And it is peaceful election that we are going to have, and we have been having all along the peaceful elections. So it means our democracy in our country and we are exercising the constitutionalism in our is out of elections that we are now experiencing. It is now, we have already nominated the president, and then still this very month we are also going to elect members of parliament. It means democracy in Uganda is up to date.
Thank you very much, Honorable. We will allow you to celebrate with many Ugandans who are watching NBS television and are celebrating 63 years of independence. Particularly, a lot more individuals we shall be speaking to. I have seen Professor Tassis Kawejere here. He's certainly one of the people that we shall be speaking to later on to just let Ugandans know what exactly the celebrations of those that have been here for so many years, even before the independence of Uganda, what they reflect of it and how Uganda ought to move forward. Back to you, Mildred, at the Political Command Center.
All right, Shamim, thank you very, very much for the update. I will continue definitely getting back to you to understand what is going on. And as the program does, one of them actually did live here before Uganda was independent. And even now that we're celebrating 63 years, such a beautiful, rich history that we'll be getting into. On my right is Professor Mondoka Gonyera. It's a pleasure having you and a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers, and congratulations, Ugandans, on attaining.
And also on my left, I do have a political historian, Mr. Mambusi Ndebesa, who is here as well to take us through conversations around 63 years. I said in journalism, we always ask, so what? Or then what? To be able to, you know, bring about that intense conversation about the reasons as to why we are speaking the 63 years. Happy Independence Day and a good morning to you, Mr.
Good morning to you, good morning to my colleague and the viewers out there, and happy Independence. By the way, I was around at Independence, although too young to know what was going on, but I was around also. I was already 3 years old.
And Prof, you were
21 years old. And I was already at college, actually. I was at Nairobi
and
University.
even if it came to voting, you were definitely
yes, I was qualified to vote both in 1961, when I was 20 years old, and 1962, when I was 21 years old.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. What comes to your mind when we're talking about the 63rd independence anniversary of Uganda? The so what perspective that rings a bell in your mind?
Well, the first thing is that I want to thank the Almighty God that 60 years after Uganda became independent, I am still alive and I'm able to be at NBS to say something about this country. But of course, as you must know, this country has undergone tremendous changes. You could even dare say transformation. Because when I first came to Kampala in 1961, a year before independence, the road between Masaka and Mbarara was a Maramu road. To say nothing of the road between Mbarara and Kabale. They have since been tarmacked. There was one university college called Makerere University College. And today we have over 40 universities in this country. When I first went to college in 1961, the whole of Uganda sent to Nairobi just 70 students, 70 only. You can imagine how many Ugandans now are able to go to college. So there has been literal transformation of this country. And I'm glad I'm still around to be able to witness the changes that are taking place in this country. Of course, not all of them are positive changes. Obviously, there have been some changes that are not the best for us, but that is to be expected in life.
Okay. There is always the ups and downs across the life. We thank God that we still can be able to drink from your cup of knowledge at this day and time. Mr. Ndebesa, for you, the so what in the 63 years of independence?
I don't think that we have undergone a transformation.
Okay, why?
Let me use a scientific metaphor, and he knows it better because he's a scientist. When you have an insect undergoing a metamorphosis,
transiting from one stage to another,
from another, that is what we call transformation. Like say if you have a larva stage and then you go to a butterfly, you have undergone a transformation. But if you get larva, the caterpillar, and you feed it very well on good vegetation and whatever, and it puts on weight, that is change. It will have undergone change, but not a transformation.
Okay.
Meaning that you can't even reverse that one. But for us, we have undergone change. Yes, I agree. We have not remained the same, but we have remained in the lava stage, if we can use that metaphor. We have not yet undergone a transformation because the colonialists left us with a handhold. As they say, we still have a handhold. They left us with a structure of society of the majority peasants. We are still in peasantry. They left us with a lot of frustration, which we can discuss later on. We still have a larger population frustrated. They left us with a crisis of nationhood, or a challenge of nationhood, to be polite. We still have a crisis or a challenge of nationhood up to now. We have had 9 presidents, none of them has handed over power to the other peacefully. That is why I am saying, yes, we have undergone a change, but not a transformation. We have a bloated caterpillar, but not yet a butterfly. Because countries like Germany, which had undergone a transformation, they were devastated by the Second World War, almost the ground, but within a short time of period, because they had become a butterfly, they didn't go back to a larva. Germany is now the richest country, the most strong economy in Europe, and more even politically, to a certain extent, stable. But these other countries that have undergone only a change from a small larvae to a big larvae, from a small caterpillar to a big caterpillar, a slight change. You see what happened in Rwanda. The president died within less than 1 hour. 1,000 people were already dead. But in those ones which have had a transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly, the president, the prime minister can die, but they will still go on.
So and are you insinuated we've stagnated, and why do you think, or what do you attribute our stagnation
Stagnation would
to?
mean that we haven't changed. We have changed, but not transformed. That is what I am saying. I can give you an example. Let's consider, let me use the key concept of frustration, the word frustration. During the colonial period, we had the majority peasants, especially here in Uganda, agrarian people living on the land, frustrated because their land was taken over and given to a few chiefs. So there was a land crisis, a land grievance here. There is still a land grievance here. You get me? The workers were asking for a better wage compared to the whites and the Indians. Today, there is also injustice in allocation of jobs. We had the traders then complaining that the Indians and the Europeans were given better treatment. Today, we have traders in Kampala complaining, not because of more tax, but because there are people who pay tax and others who don't pay tax. There is that complaint. If you go to employment, people were crying to be employed because the Europeans and Asians were given special treatment. Today, we have got some white blacks who are given special treatment. We have got access to justice. There is now, by then, the justice was, there was a selective application of justice where the whites and Indians were treated better. Today, there is also selective application of justice. So I can go on and give you the teachers are now frustrated. The teachers were frustrated then. The workers are frustrated. The traders are frustrated. The politicians, the political class is frustrated. So you find that true, there has been some change. She's talking about universities, but if I asked him, he's a scientist, and whether he could tell me how many Ugandans are patenting some inventions and discoveries in science today. Because we are living in the knowledge age today.
They may not patent, but does that mean that they're also not formulating new ideas?
It is the one indicator of the progress in terms of scientific progress, that you have living in the knowledge age, and people are patenting discoveries in ICT, in medical technology, in biotechnology, in bioengineering, in engineering, and for us, we are not doing that. That is an indicator that we are still underdeveloped at the scientific level. We are underdeveloped politically because we have never had a smooth succession. By the way, just give me half a second and I talk about underdevelopment politically. If historically, evolution of society, trajectory of society, societies have reached a certain level, some societies of level of stability and peace because they have resolved the question of succession. But Uganda has failed to resolve the question of succession. Just before independence, in pre-colonial period, partly why we were weak societies is because that there was no clear unwritten constitution of how to succeed. In Buganda here, a king would first eliminate his brothers. In Bunyoro there, in fact, towards independence, because towards colonization, when Kabarega was formed by the British, he had killed his brother Kabigumera. In order to succeed, you had to kill first. Nkore was found very weak. Nkore was found very weak because they had had a succession war. Now, empires rose and fell, even in the Western world, because of the succession question, until they resolved the succession question. Here we have failed to resolve the succession question, which is an indicator of political underdevelopment.
All right, we will be definitely coming back to you, and very interesting conversations coming in. And Professor Kagonyera, I wanted to come to you also on the political sphere, especially that we are in a politically charged situation. The presidents are on campaign trail. The members of parliament will be nominated pretty soon at the end of the month. We have an election that is pending. Politically, what has Uganda looked like through the years that you have looked at?
You know, every country has gone through stages of development. Professor Mwambusandebesa is a historian, and that's why he talks forever and ever about these issues. But he mentioned a country called Germany. Until yesterday, Germany was 2 countries. During the Second World War, 5 million people lost their lives in a country called Germany. Does he think that is civilization? Today, if you go to the United States, the government of the United States is stuck. They can't pass certain, they can't make certain decisions regarding the rule of the United States. In the United States, people die every day because of their political views. Therefore, what the professor has been talked about is what happens in nature all over the world. Uganda is not a unique place. I think, yes, indeed, we have had some setbacks, but the fact that some people can go around campaigning, distilling problems that the people of this country are exposed to is a positive, is a positive case. I had one of the presidential candidates say that if he's elected, he's going to abolish Swahili. Wonderful. He's going to...
What is wonderful about it?
I'm speaking sarcastically.
Okay, yeah, sure.
He's going to nationalize all private schools. For what purpose? But these are issues that these people are raising, that whoever will be in power ought to look at and say, did this candidate make a point here and there? Therefore, as far as I'm concerned, it's a bit positive. The problem we have is that there are so many of these candidates. I think our people will have a problem deciding whom they should vote for.
Okay. And do you think there's been political progress? That's what I would choose. Over the time that we started with political parties, that then abolished, we're going to a single party state. We're now back to multi-party dispensation. The complaints from some opposition political parties about the terrain of operation with regard to the politics of the country. There's been changes in amendments to the Constitution, especially the 1995 Constitution. Is it for the good? Are there things that we could have missed as we went on the journey of politics for the country?
I think political development in any country is a very complex issue. Take, for example, Britain. When the Magna Carta was promulgated, I think it was 1260, I can't remember, Professor Ndebisa. Until yesterday, the women could not vote. How many times we have English kings beheaded, put to death? The Cromwellian Civil War lasted 60 years in Britain. The French Revolution in the 1780, in which year, Professor Devesa?
39.
Aha. The king was beheaded, the queen, I think, was hanged head down. So every country has got a path it follows through its development. And Uganda being unique, because Uganda is unique. We have Lake Victoria, we have about 20-something tribes, each speaking a different language. We have different religious beliefs. Therefore, we are a unique country and we can't be compared to others. What should happen is that the people of this country should be very deliberate about recognizing the mistakes we have made that we shouldn't repeat, and we look for the right things that should be done in order for the people. You see, one of the best ways to get the people together is to make sure that you do the right thing all the time. Quite often, people are divided by the mistakes we make.
All right. You mentioned people. You mentioned our diversity when it comes to language, culture, and everything.
Yes.
And that I pick from that on a question that was raised, or a point that was raised by Mr. Ndebesa, nationhood. We know about the Scrum One petition for Africa and how the colonialists, subdivided Africa into bits. Many people believe that we are boxed together, not that we agreed to live together. Maybe that's where I want us to start from, on the idea of nationhood. Where do we lie? How have we moved past what the colonialists forced us into? And have we lived together as Ugandans that we are supposed to be?
The colonialists put us together. That is true. So we became.
But there were existent nations previously. Bunyoro, Buganda,
but they are not in one state.
Yeah.
They were different states. And so the British came and put us together. So we became a community of communities. And then we had this crisis of nationhood as way back as 1960s, because in fact, even there is a professor who wrote about that one, Professor Ingram, I think. He wrote a book called The Crisis of Nationhood in 1960. And there was a Munster Report Commission, Uganda Relationships Commission report, like this one of Odochi. That one was Munster, before the promulgating the Constitution of 1962. And they identified these issues of why I normally call them the questions, the Ugandan questions. They identified the differences between there was a Bunyoro question, the Buganda-Bunyoro question. There was the question of Rwenzori region, the people in Rwenzori not wanting to be in Toro. There was Uganda versus Buganda. There was the Sabinyi versus the Bajisu. There was East Acholi versus West Acholi. There was Bahima versus Beiru. There was Bachiga versus Bafumbira Banyarwanda.
Not true. No.
Maybe, yes, you will. I will definitely be able to give you the time to...
Until recently, in Kabare Diocese, the Catholic Kabare Diocese, they chased away the Catholic bishop who was given the post of being commission of Uganda AIDS Commission to
that had nothing to do with
he's disagreeing with it.
Okay, let's continue. Yes. Let's continue. He will come in. The point I was making that these questions, the apparent North-South question, the Karamoja question, the Protestants versus the Catholics question, the Christians versus the Muslims question, which are still with us, reflected today. How are they reflected? Each ethnic group wants to be in a different district. So we have this districtization until...
I want to believe that that's only to particular parts of the country, not entirely across.
Many of them. That's why they demand for those districts. You ask the people of Tororo, ask the people of Kasese, ask the people of even Buganda. There are sub-ethnic groups that are demanding for autonomy.
Yeah, some, like you said.
Then you have cultural leaders. Each kingdom is having a group which wants to secede from the other one because they don't want to live together. The latest I had with is the Bachope. These are people of Chiriandongo want to secede from Bunyoro. You had the Bagungu one time also asking to secede from Bunyoro. You have the Banyara wanting to secede from Buganda. You have the Baruri. You have the Bamori. You have the Bakoki. You have the people of Karangara. And that's, I'm giving you one example. And in Anglican diocese, especially the Anglican Church, almost each ethnic group is also asking for a separate diocese. The Muslims now, you have got a group of Buganda in Chiburi and Uganda in Old Kampala.
Where is all that stemming from when we talk about the conversation of nationhood? Because Mugungu, Munyoro, Muganda, Mchope, whatever it is, we're now talking about Uganda as a nation.
No, Uganda is not yet a nation. It is a country. I normally use a computer metaphor. To have a fully functioning computer, you have a hardware and a software. So the British created a hardware. They created the boundaries and a state. A state here means institutions of people to govern the people. You have one executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary, you have the bureaucracy, you have the military, you have a constitution, you have certain institutions that we share together. That's the hardware. But the software are those values and norms and ideals that keep people together, that people share together and brings them together.
How have we performed 63 years in that regard?
We have performed poorly because that is why people are demanding from organizations.
What is lacking?
What is lacking is our threads to tie us together. That is commonly shared values, but they must be civic values. Something like equality. Do we all believe in equality? Do we all believe in social justice? Do we all believe in unity and diversity? Do we all believe in separation of powers? Do we all believe in accountability? Those are generally universal values that we need to pursue and make sure that we share them together, because Uganda is unique, as Professor has said, is that we did not evolve organically. And we are not forced to be together like Kabarega wanted to do or some other king. What happens is that an external force put us together, but we are not united, we are not integrated, we are not cohesive. And therefore, we cannot build the society along ancestral values, because we cannot share the same myth of origin, we cannot share the same traditions and cultures and we cannot share the same language even. It is not very easy. So what we need to do is to promote certain civic values as our principles, agree upon them, make sure that we inculcate them in our young ones at school and at home, and we have a national pledge whereby each day students can even sing it, that we agree to live, to have unity in diversity. Okay. We all agree to be equal. We all agree on justice. We all agree to have empathy with each other. We all agree to have political accountability. And gradually we shall evolve that nation where the software is functioning. Today, our software is malfunctioning.
All right, thank you very much. And this is where I cross to Professor Kagunyira. Of course, you were in disagreement with some of the assertions that Mr. Ndebesa made. But the biggest conversation is on nationhood. That is why we've had conversations on sectarianism, which is totally something that we go against in the country. Identity politics, yes. And we've promoted patriotism, but why do we have to still be pushing that song when we all know right now, forced or not forced, we exist in the same territorial jurisdictions?
You see, Professor Ndebesa knows very well that all the countries of the world today are artificial creations. Germany, until 18-something, was different prosperities. It was put together by force. Okay?
Yes.
In the United States, only 13 states we originally formed the United States. A lot of the United States was through conquest. It's an artificial country. And he's talking generally about utopian values. Every country at any time has got problems that they have to go through. As I said earlier on, you must attempt to do the right thing. By the way, this ethnicity is a creation of, I must say, of the educated people. I have been, I've been going to parts of this country, deep in the villages. You go to an Anacholi village, as a Muchiga, you are welcomed, you are treated well, you are loved. Anacholi will go to a village in Toro, and he's loved by the people. It's we politicians who tend to capitalize on some of the differences we have. And therefore, my view is that the challenge we have is not the differences he's been talking about, but the manner in which we address those literally artificial differences that we have. True, you may have religious differences. Yes, you may have some. Even the tribal differences talking about our creations of it. Admittedly, we used to fight among us for purposes of territorial creation. But that happens all over the world. That's why even Trump wants to annex Greenland. That's why he thinks Canada should be part of the United States. These things happen all the time. But the most important thing is, how do we address the problems we have?
And that is the question I would beg to see, to get your indulgence.
Yes.
How do you think we can address those problems that have brought about the politics of identity that we are speaking against as a country?
In fact, some people have put it this way, managing diversity. How do we manage diversity?
But that is true all over the world. Even in Britain today, if you talk to someone from Kent in the south of England, Surrey in the south of England, he looks at things differently from someone from Manchester. But the important thing is, how do they manage the differences they may have? In other words, it's natural for people to be different, even from village to village. In my tribe, the Wachiga, the clan of a person matters. But the good thing about us, we all think we are the greatest, and therefore we end up being equal.
Yeah.
Okay? And I would like to look at the Ugandans as each one thinking they are the greatest, and therefore we are all equal. At one time.
Okay.
Yeah, but practically...
Do we have any particular policies or actionable points that we actually need to put in place? Because like he was mentioning, yes, you see pockets of favoritism, maybe people who want to be bigger than the others in aspects, and that creates the clashes that do happen in the country. Yeah. How do we deal out with those?
Power is a monster, I would say.
Okay.
Power is a monster, and it is very difficult to manage. I think generally it is how we manage the political power that we have that sometimes accentuates those differences. For example, I had in the previous program Mr. Rule talking about the people of Ruwero's contribution to the liberation of this country. That must be a valid point. But also someone from Karamoja can complain that, yes, for a long time we are neglected and we need our fair share of the development of this country.
Okay.
There will always be differences, but it is important to find points where we can come together.
Points that unite us together.
The points that, yes, unite us.
Okay. What do you think are the practical means of creating the harmonization?
The practical way of doing that is not just to continue verbalizing it and singing and sloganeering and all that. No. You must practice justice, not just to say justice. We have a problem in Uganda of unequal sharing of natural resources or resources generally, equal opportunities. Do we all have equal opportunities to public resources or to resources generally? We can give examples. Do we have equal opportunity to access, for example, scholarships? As an example, do we have equal opportunity to access credit in the country? Do we have equal opportunity to jobs and promotions in all sectors of the jobs? Do we have equal opportunity when it comes to facing security? Does security treat people equally? In this country, we have got a wider gap between the north and the south, for example. I think in Acholi now, which is the poorest, I'm surprised, Umbo says it is poorer than Karamoja in multi-dimensional poverty. But you find Karamoja, West Nile, and Acholi, I'm told in terms of multi-dimensional poverty, they are 60% poor. There is 60% poverty. You can look at the Umbo's map even. They have got a poverty map. I wish they could also give us education map of how people are performing. Because certain regions do not even have more than 10 people in first grade. So our industries equally spread throughout the country, for example, so that equal opportunity for employment is available. Do we recruit people equally? Do we pay even people equally? Today there is a crisis in education about arts teachers versus science teachers. So you pay some, you raise other people 4 million, others are still not even a million. And do they feel that they are having equal access? Do we all even have equal access to justice? Because it seems justice is for the rich. The rich can pay and get justice, and the poor cannot access justice. There is land grabbing. In most places, those who have power are grabbing power of those who are not powerful. So when you don't have, inequality actually poses an existential threat to national integrity. Not only national integrity, but even globally, inequality poses an existential threat to global peace. And so when we are going to have peace in this country, we should not force people to be peaceful. Some sociologists call that one negative peace. Negative peace is where you have people bottled up, silenced. Recently, the Minister of Justice of all ministries, Minister of Justice, Honorable Mao, said that the opposition should keep quiet. If they don't keep quiet, we shall make them quiet, meaning we shall silence them. That is not the way to build a nation. Nations, initially in the past, traditionally, conventionally, in the other centuries, you could use force to unite them. Today, you don't use that force. So we do not expect negative peace. We want positive peace. What is positive peace? Positive peace is achieved through shared values, as I said, but also make sure that there is justice. Once there is justice, there will be unity. At a later segment, I'm going to talk about how different regimes in Uganda since independence have tried to force people into peace, and we have failed.
All right, and actually when you talk about distribution, equitable distribution of resources, what rings or comes through as well causing the friction which is happening is hinged on the economy, is hinged on economic status of the different people. How do you think we've fared in that regard, Professor?
The most important agent for equalization of the people is education.
And the taxation.
Allow me to speak. I allowed you to speak.
All right, please go ahead,
please.
Professor.
Education is the most important agent for equalization of the people. Therefore, as far as I'm concerned, whoever is in the government should put a lot of effort in providing equal opportunity to education to every Ugandan. And that's why I think that every child born in Uganda should have access to reasonable, good quality education. And the most important thing is that these kids must be in good health. In other words, I strongly recommend that while we are sending our children to school, they should not go to school on empty stomachs. That's number one. Number two, indeed, he's talking about taxation. These are political gimmicks, really. As far as I'm concerned, yes, the development of each part of the country depends also upon the natural resources. For example, the people of Kabale grow potatoes. They cannot grow matoke. Coffee can hardly grow in that place. Okay? Someone was telling me he planted the sugar cane in Kabale. It can't grow. But the people of Busoga can grow sugar cane and make money from it. Therefore, each region will develop largely dependent on the kind of natural resources they have. If we have got minerals like in Karamoja, people in Kabale benefited a lot from going to Chirembe in the mines. But if there is no mineral, you can't be a miner. Therefore, the natural resources of a place play an important role in the development of the region. But the most important thing is that we should give our people equal opportunities to good education.
Okay. All right, and as we do still continue, more dignitaries continue to arrive at the Kololo Independence Ground ahead of the 63rd Independence celebration. Just earlier on, the Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda did also appear. Let's now talk about, away from the individual economic conversation, let's talk about the broader perspective of the country. Looking at about 449 million US dollars GDP at 1962's independence. And now we're talking about tenfold. We want to go into the 500 billion threshold in the next 15 years. How have we been able to transition over the time? Where have we succeeded? And what more areas do we need to tackle for Uganda's economic independence as well?
One of the major problems this country has had is its success in making sure that Ugandans don't die. And the rate of population growth is a major problem in hindering the uplifting of the people's economic well-being. In countries like Sweden, the population, instead of getting larger, is getting less. The same thing applies, I think, to countries like Japan. While the economy is growing, the population is going down. Therefore, the per capita income in those countries essentially goes up. Uganda's GDP, indeed, is quite high. But the per capita income, because of the large population growth, is still very low. Therefore, if we don't address the issue of the rate at which our population grows, we'll still have a serious problem in getting all the people of Uganda out of poverty. Okay. A country like India, China, for example, in a few years, the GDP of China will be greater than that of the United States. But the per capita income of the people of China is probably down to number 20th or below. Someone who studied history, economics can help us. In other words, the Chinese, although their GDP, the whole economy is very large, but because of the large number of people, the per capita income is low. That's why you go to China today and you still find people who live below the poverty line. Simply because of the large population.
So the quality of the population is an important aspect when we're
Yes,
talking
the
economics.
number of people in our country is even in the whole, and many politicians will disagree with me, including those in authority, that what we need is a very large population. But as far as I'm concerned, the population growth should be consonant with the economic growth. Otherwise, you always find a lot of Ugandans, and even in the rest of Africa, below the poverty line, unless we control the rate at which our population grows.
In Kololo is the former Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, arriving right now, and also former Speaker of the Republic of Uganda. Various dignitaries continue to come through as we await the arrival of the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to officiate at the 63rd Independence Anniversary of Uganda. But we're still having the conversation that is going in right here. And I would like to come to you, Mr. Ndebesa, on the economic aspect of of the country, it's also very important. It speaks to the equitability that you were talking about. It speaks to how people engage directly with the country. What would you, on what scale would you look at Uganda 63 years later?
When NRM came into power, there was a statement made by President Museveni promising a fundamental change.
Not mere change of guards.
Not mere change of guards, not mere change of the economy. In other words, my evaluation of the economy is based on that statement. Have we had a fundamental change or not? Not that we have not had a change, we have had the changes, but is it fundamental? And how can we show how a fundamental change takes place? Professor has talked about education, but we need to have quality education and technology. The comparative advantage he's talking about is no longer the issue in the 21st century, that you must have endowment of these minerals or these natural resources in order to develop, because there are developed countries like Japan that do not have those natural resources. So the challenge we have, for example, there is a digital divide in Uganda. We are living in a knowledge age. Do we have a wider digital divide? I was talking with somebody who is a kid in P3 somewhere in an international school here in Uganda. They are studying this AI.
Yes.
In Uganda, in Kampala, when others have never seen even the share of a computer. No? So we have to make sure that this digital divide is narrowed. That is how to attain equality. But again, we have to invest heavily in research and development.
Okay.
We have to invest heavily in technology development so that we have a technological base. In my opinion, actually, instead of talking about having an economy of 500 billion or whatever, GDP or whatever, we should be looking at high tech. At what point shall we, in the next 10 years, how much high tech shall we have developed in this country so that we move from an agrarian economy to a high-tech economy?
Well,
that is how to grow.
The reason why government is also focusing on science, technology, and innovation in the ATMs probably, isn't that a good pointer that government has picked on talking about the kind of economy we would like to achieve?
How many labs and lab equipment have we concentrated on? What do you mean that we are concentrating on science and technology? Because science and technology means that we must have a policy of innovation and creativity, and not only a policy on writing, but we also follow it up with implementation plans and implementation programs. And even in the public discourse, we should be talking about how to fundamentally change the economy. Also, NRM 10-point program promised an independent, integrated, self-sustaining national economy. But they have not followed it up with that. The economy is still disintegrated. The economy is not yet independent. In fact, the economy is foreignized. Who owns Uganda's economy today? You go to Kampala, where most of the economy is, and you see it is still owned by foreigners. Look at the commanding heights of the economy. Who owns the telecommunication company? Because that's where the money, most money goes. Who owns the oil companies in Uganda? Because that's fundamental. Who owns the finance, the finance sector? Yeah. They are foreigners. Now they are even going to minerals. And minerals, by the way, is very important. We should focus on how to utilize our mineral resource and share it equitably. Okay. President Museveni has actually been making a statement to the effect that the economy can only be industry, commercial agriculture, services, and ICT. I would want to add him, if he is listening or his advisors are listening, there is minerals. The mineral sector is very critical.
Mineral sector is in the ATMs because after agriculture we have mineral beneficiation. Mr. Ndebesa, ATMs are focusing, the key areas that we're focusing on for the tenfold agenda. There is agro-industrialization, there is tourism, there is mineral beneficiation as the M before we go to the STIs.
No, I have just given you the four he gives, and there is no minerals, and there is no fisheries, and there is no forestry. The point I'm making is that those ones he's talking about are okay, but we need to think about more. And the mineral sector is very critical because it seems we're endowed with very many minerals.
Sure.
But then we have also to make sure that we share it equitably. Because very soon you are going to see certain people getting scholarships, by the way, to go and study petroleum engineering. In the future, they will get jobs and they will say, we are basing it on quality. But the others got scholarships, others didn't get the scholarships.
Okay.
You see the point I'm making? In the future, we shall have Karamajong people. In Karamoja, they are now, there is, in Mukono here, there is a factory making cement. Is it called Kampala Cement? And it is getting resources from Karamoja. Karamoja now has power. Morote has power. Why are you locating a limestone industry in Kampala and not in Karamoja? Obote one government, by the way, had a policy of distributing the industries countrywide. I think that's why in the Morocco textiles in Mbare, meat packing in Soroti, spin milling in Rira. But now all the industries are concentrating almost in Kampala. The government should come up with a policy to disperse these industries. When you are an investor, they tell you, we are not going to allow you anymore to invest here. Please, can you go and invest elsewhere so that we have this equal distribution of these industries throughout the country.
Can I say something?
Please go ahead, yes. Please go ahead, Doctor.
Professor Ndebesa knows very well that the government of, and I'm not here, by the way, to plead for the government, because there are people who are paid to do that. But we must be objective about what we say. He knows very well that there are industrial parks being created all over the country. In fact, the people who should complain a lot is we people from the Kigezi region. We don't have an industrial park. But you go to Mbale, there is an industrial park. You go, yes, industrial park, absolutely. And he's talking about cement. You want to care to go to Karamoja, you will find a cement factory being developed in that place. Professor Ndebesa. Therefore, get your facts right. But true, I totally agree with him that the commanding heights of the economy should really be in the hands of the people of Uganda. The financial industry, the majority of the banks are foreign banks.
Almost all.
He's talking about the telecommunications companies. They are all foreign. But sooner than later, will take over the functions of all those oil companies that he's bothered about. And therefore, what I would like him to do is to help the government focus properly on the direction in which we are moving. The government also already recognizes that it was an error to sell Uganda Commercial Bank. And that's why money is being put into UDB. That's why banks like Housing Finance Company are being financed to be able to grow as a local financial institution.
Did I hear Post Bank is being privatized?
I hope not. I hope not.
Because it is going to be
rebranding.
No, it is rebranding. No.
Yeah, it's rebranding to PAL
It's rebranding. It still remains a national, Ugandan-owned bank.
Yeah, it's just the rebranding from Post Bank to PAL.
That's right.
Bank.
Corrected.
So I totally agree with him that we should put more emphasis on getting Ugandans into these businesses. It's pointless to have a mining company belonging to a foreigner, and the Ugandans are just small employees in that company. I think Ugandans should be able to take over these mines and be able to maximally benefit from our minerals. It is wrong, absolutely wrong, for foreigners to come and benefit when in fact Ugandans are wallowing in poverty.
Professor, also talk about the focus of Uganda in terms of entirely revolutionizing the economy. He also did mention that there could be a few things that we're missing out here and there. Now we are into NDP4. We are also going to be taking on the 10-point growth agenda, and we're looking at the ATMs, what Ministry of Finance has coined as the ATMs, agriculture, tourism, mineral beneficiation, and science, technology, and industries. Are we targeting right on sectors that will benefit everyone holistically and turn around the economy?
As you must know, I haven't been active in the government for a very long time, so
Yes.
I don't know exactly what is going on. But I totally agree with you and Professor Ndebesa that the government must focus on those skills that enable Ugandans to participate effectively in the growth of this country. IT, for example, he is quite right, absolutely. For example, you have children in up-country schools who probably have not seen even a smartphone, forget about a computer. I think all schools, all primary schools in this country should have computer laboratories where all the children must go and become computer literate. There is no way we can allow a situation where a child from a village secondary school goes for A level and they are for the first time meeting a computer.
Yes.
I think computers should be available in all primary schools. All primary schools should have qualified teachers. I emphasize that all the teachers in our primary schools and secondary schools should be qualified. And I think indeed the government is doing something about that. I don't know, Professor Ndebesa. You know? We are insisting, for example, I don't know how smart it is, but we're insisting that at a certain time, all teachers in the country should be university graduates. And I think probably that is something good. And in that being university graduates, they should be scientifically exposed so that our children think, you know, it's amazing how many times our children are averse to science education. You talk to a young man or woman and they know nothing about how their body works. We have to make sure that our children get interested in science, and we can only do that by training their teachers to make these young men and the children love science.
Okay, thank you.
But also, besides he's talking about forcing people to do what? I forgot what he used. You know, in order to have good teachers, they should be paid well. I was told, I heard that in the former Soviet Union, among the best paid people, we are teachers, isn't it? And that's how they developed. Today, I would like to comment on pay disparities. If you look at the salaries earned by political leaders, I'm afraid to say, really, they do not attract young men and women to go into the teaching profession. That's why you see that when it comes to elections, if all the Ugandans would work very hard in all spheres of our economic endeavor, as hard as they work during the campaigns to be elected, I think this country would be somewhere.
All right, that's a very interesting one. We need to be concluding this conversation. I'll take your parting shots as we trace back our history and look at now 63 years moving forward. What's the message for Ugandans and for Uganda at large? What do we need to ponder upon?
What we need to ponder upon is that we must resolve the succession question. We have had 9 presidents or heads of state. None has handed over to the other peacefully. Unless we resolve the succession question, we can easily now lose the gains that we have attained so far. And that is possible because in Africa, mainly in Africa, we have had political instability. In fact, the people who made the constitution really analyzed this one, and they came up, the first sentence, the first opening sentence in the 1995 constitution I was party to that constitution as a researcher, by the way. It says that recalling the political and the constitutional instability in Uganda, blah, 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 blah. So similarly, I am saying, recalling our political instability around the question of succession, we need to address that one. 2, we need to address the question of militarizing political competition. Because if we continue militarizing political competition, we shall reach a stage where we shall have anarchy in this country. 3, this is a message to the NRM and the NRA people who came to power, but still have an entitlement mentality, that they are entitled. You see, they have to get rid of that mentality, because that one is one of the challenges in Africa, especially liberation countries. If you go to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Uganda, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, name it. Those countries which, after the independence period and the coups and all that, and then had these liberation movements. Those liberation movements have come with an entitlement mentality that we killed our animal and we are entitled to share it. Anybody else is not entitled. Now, with that entitlement mentality, we shall have political instability that we identified as a challenge in our constitutional provision. But again, we are continuing with this entitlement mentality. Quickly, allow me to give the example of Ethiopia. Quickly. Ethiopia also had this liberation. And Meles Zenawi and the EP, Ethiopian People's Liberation, something, they took power in Ethiopia. When recently Zenawi unfortunately died after being in power for 30 years, he was replaced by somebody, Hariman or somebody like that. The name, I'm not getting it clearly. Those with entitlement, especially the Tigrayans, said, oh, you man, you are not part of us. After 15 months in power, Hariman or somebody like that said, now I can't do much because those of you who are entitled have made it impossible for me to preside over a government and govern this country. He resigned. They replaced him with Ahmad, what is the other name? Ahmad somebody, the current one, Dr. Ahmad somebody. Oh, the entitlement people say, especially the Tigrayans said, no, we are entitled. He said, come again. Wait a minute. The other one has resigned. You are also telling me that because I'm Oromo, is a party, Oromo party, Amhara, you are also not entitled. He said, no, come again. I am not going to allow this one. He dissolved the party. The Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Party of Zenawi, which he had 98% of parliament, was dissolved by this Ahmad, and nobody even raised the finger after it had been resolved. So a party that was supported by 98% is dissolved, and people say let it be dissolved. Okay. That is a question that we need to look at. So generally at the political level, that's what we should resolve. At the education level, we need technology, in my opinion, in order to move forward, because we talked about education. Do you know that in primary enrollment it is about, is it 5 million or more than 5 million? But senior 6, by the people going to senior 6, you find that not even 1 million people are going to HSC. So really, the 5 million go away and get lost somewhere. We need to address that dropout rate in education.
Okay, thank you very much. As we wind up, Professor Kagonyera, moving forward, what messages, how do we, like the NRM is choosing to say, protect the gains that we do have and add on to that?
Thank you very much indeed. I want to thank Professor Mwambazandevesa for his lectures on history and politics of Africa. I would like to say this. Yesterday, I watched the prayer breakfast on TV. And many of the people who spoke, we are stressing reconciliation and forgiveness. Now, one of the people there said, please you people, don't just speak but practice those
What
things.
you are saying.
I therefore would like
I
to
agree with
plead.
that.
Yes, I would like to plead to our leadership to practice what they preach, and even go beyond and practice what they haven't preached, but what is appropriate. An American politician once said that politics is about three things. The first one is compromise. The second one is compromise. And the third thing is compromise. In other words, the political leadership in this country must stress the idea of coming to the center of issues rather than stressing the fringes of these of their thinking. Finally, I think someone talked about forgiveness. It is important that we recognize that wherever you may be, in whatever position you may be, you make mistakes. Even in our families, we make mistakes. Forgiveness is an issue. I think the government of Uganda must move a great distance towards reconciliation, forgiveness. This country needs to make a fresh start.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would like to add, therefore, that the next elections should not make us go backwards,
But move forward.
Should help us to move forward by making sure that all the people of this Uganda are brought on board in order for us to work. And finally,
justice.
Yes, Professor Davis is talking. I said usually people commit offenses in response to wrongdoing. It is imperative that
And as we speak, Professor, of course, the President of the Republic of Uganda has arrived at Kololo Independence Ground, waving to the crowds that have gathered to celebrate there. The 63rd Independence theme is 63 years of independence, a reason for us to double the efforts for sustainability and a united, progressive nation. President Yoweri Museveni has arrived with the First Lady, Janet Kataha Museveni, coming to officiate at the 63rd Independence anniversary. I want to say a special thank you to you, Professor Mondo Kagunyera, for sparing time to be with us this beautiful morning.
Thank you.
And to you, Mr. Ndebesa Mwambusia, as well, for sparing time to be with us and discuss this early morning. You're welcome. The President now is being received, and the First Lady are being received by the receiving party, of course, constituent of the First National Vice Chairperson, the Second National Vice Chairperson of the NRM, Madame Lucy Nachobe, from the Public Service, amongst other dignitaries. As he moves forward, he will definitely be able to inspect the Guard of Honor. Later on, he will also be inspecting the parade at a later stage. But then we will also expect to have the anthem sung, which is going to be happening right now, the Ugandan anthem, East African anthem, and then we will officially say we have started off the program of the 63rd Independence celebration for Uganda.
Salam ya Rais! Heshima tu!
His Excellency the President is going to proceed to his seat as we wait for the trooping of the colors. Your Excellency, you are most welcome. Tunakukaribisha sana kwa sherehe hii ya 63 mwaka wa 63 wa uhuru wa Uganda. Tunakukaribisha na heshimu Mheshimiwa Rais. Your Excellency, we are aware of the kind of business you are in now, and we are praying for you that you may succeed. Of course you will. That God may help you, and of course He will. And for us, we shall put up our banners at your victory. So this is a unique function, Your Excellency, when we are in the middle of elections, now the trooping of the colors.
All right, we are still with the conversations happening at the Kololo Independence Grounds for the 63rd Independence Anniversary of Uganda, but also sharing different minds and experiences on what Uganda's journey has been 63 years later. With me in studio right now is Council Lydia Wanyoto Mtende, who is the presidential advisor, senior presidential advisor on special duties, but also she is the woman member of parliament, flag bearer for NRM in Mbale City. Mbale City, NRM woman member of parliament, flag bearer, after a very tense one. Congratulations, I would say, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much to our listeners. Happy Independence Day to the people of Mbale. I love you so much.
The home girl is here, Valley City, and I'm the flag bearer. I've just run from the campaign trail, preparing for nominations. My nomination is on 22nd of October. Please be there, and we show the people that you have taken the decision that I'll be your next member of parliament from Valley City.
Okay.
Today is my birthday. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm an independence girl. Just God said she should be the one there so that it speaks for everything else in life. So thank you so much for wishing me a happy birthday, Mildred. And I'm happy to be at NBS, between NBS and Kololo.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. Such a day. What bells does it ring in your mind as a woman? Because I'm looking at the journey of Uganda's independence and the place of a woman as well. Now that you're even talking about participating in the politics, it's a totally different one. What does it mean for you celebrating 63 years of independence?
It is good to talk about self-governance, but when you unpack it, you also want to know where you stand as a Ugandan, as a citizen, but also what space you're playing in the whole scheme of things. I chose to participate in the governance of our country.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer by profession, but in politics, I'm participating in the leadership and supporting the cause of women to better themselves, to reach out there, but also to be on the table where decisions happen for the country, but also for the last woman in the community.
Yes.
So 63 years, yes, many of us, including myself, are much younger than 63, but we caught the Ugandan child along the way, and we are participating. We are more active in our country's decision-making and governance since 1986. So it is 63, but in between the NRM government, that's the one that people like myself are able to speak, because we were children in 1986, but now we are adults. I can no longer say I'm a child.
Not at all.
So in 1986, I was a child. I was not understanding, but we had a history of conflict. There was nothing much to speak about, especially for participation of women in all spheres of life. So these affirmative action policies, including the 1995 Constitution, that gave special provisions, what we call the Bill of Rights. They're in Chapter 4 of our Constitution. From the Chapter 4 of our Constitution going forward, Bill of Rights, there's a big space like Article 30, Article 31, including the issues of rights of hearing and court, Article 26, all these articles that speak the Bill of Rights, Chapter 4 of our Constitution, 1995 Constitution as amended, have given us leverage as women
to
participate and to have inclusive governance, but also all spheres of life.
Okay.
And when I sit here today, or when I stand at Kololo, because I've been from Kololo, we want women to see that it is possible. Even just on the microphone of the MCs, there is the lady there, so that we are able to say, look, women, stand out and take up your space. The space I took up in our country's spaces, either there are others in the profession, others are in activism, others are in business. I'm in politics. I'm in politics, and I joined the group politics. I'm in the NRM party, so that I'm able to make my contribution in that corner and be loud, clear, and also stand out to say, this is where I want women to go in Uganda. We are the majority in the country. Numbers always show to that. And in the economics of our country, we are also not yet there, because when you unpack the 26% or 38% of those who are not on the money economy, women are the majority. So we are trying to see how we can bring policies or programs that pull the last woman to be able to have something that can now give her the energy either to rear some chicken, or to grow some productive crop, or to do a sewing business, textiles. Let everybody do something that brings an income
to them.
Yes, and including those with disability. There should be no woman left behind.
Yes.
And in many of my campaign slogans, I keep saying, women must shine. So if that's at the back of our mind, you cannot shine when you are poor. You cannot shine when you are miserable. You cannot shine when you are sick. So we must be able to see what we can do in this government of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, which has given us an opportunity in terms of law, policies and programs. We have a ministry that we can now knock on the door and pull out those that are responsible for women to say, please, can you come and train us on this? The country's biggest economic centers are the markets. If you move to even Nimasindi or Bunyoro, where you come from, any market without any choice, if you just enter any side of the market, the first face you will see are women.
Yeah, women.
The biggest market vendors in Uganda, in any market, whether it's Tilida, whether it is in Ebi, whether it's in Arua, the West Nile is in my mind because our presidential candidate is campaigning there now, but whether in Lang where he has just been, the women are they are out in their homes, they are in the streets, they are in the market. So we just have to keep adding value on where they are doing business, to adding value in where they are doing their investment. They are small business. A woman can start business midway with 100,000.
Yeah, and they will be able to manage
with,
that money
with a basket of bananas, like where I come from in Mbale City. The women at the car parks, what you call the bus terminals, at the taxi park, at the special park, with a basket of bananas. If you look at a basket of bananas, we grow a lot of bogoya. You may find that that banana basket is not even 200,000. But she has woken up in the morning to go and make a difference of 1,000 or 2,000 from her investment, so that she's able to buy soap, she's able to buy yaka, because these days you can buy the light you need. She's able to take a child and deposit school fees.
Okay, Councillor Lydia, looking still at the women's position, because I know that even in your party, NRM, you previously, you're the immediate previous leader of the Women's League in the National Resistance Movement. Where are some of the challenges still faced by the women? Because when we look at issues of gender-based violence, it brings the woman to the fore. When we look at teenage pregnancies, for example, in the eastern side in Busoga, the woman is directly affected. When it is issues of finances, the women still have are directly affected much more than the men are. Where are the challenges and what more needs to be done? As we say, we're 63 years independent and we are trying to push the woman forward, away from the kitchen in the back and the labor suit, which in the African traditional society seem to be the offices of the women.
The biggest government structures that will resolve the challenges of women are in two sectors: the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Those are the key pillars if you want to help women and solve the problem, what I call the last mile.
Yes.
The last mile is this woman in a household, on the village.
Yes.
So why am I speaking about local government? That's where the structures are. The lowest local level of governance in Uganda is the LC. The LC structure is that is now the link, the thread, to know for us how did Mildred spend the night. Is she okay?
Yeah.
Has she woken up to go to the garden, or has she woken up to go to her shop? So if we can be able to revigorate and make the structure of the local government active, you'll be able to catch where every woman is, at parish, at the village. That was, and make that active. We need to have barazas at the village. So Ministry of Local Government, using the local structures, we need to have frequent barazas. Barazas are village or community gatherings. That every month it happens, and it happens without, it's known. So that in that meeting, you get to hear and to know what is working and what's not working. Because if a health center is not working, that report should come from the chairman, LOC1 or the committee of LOC2, through the Ministry of Government to the Ministry of Health, or to the Ministry of Water, if there is no borehole or water system in the country. So if we can have this communication structure through Ministry of Local Government to work, information is power.
Yes.
So when you get information, that's when we begin asking for action. Because we have so many ministries, but where is the link to the last woman? The majority of women in Uganda, I can even say without blinking on the camera, because I know I work for women with or without a title. I'm the leader of the women in Uganda. Yes. That one is a given. Everybody knows this. That's why I'm even here, and not anyone else. Mine is a calling. It even does not require winning or losing an election.
Okay.
I'm a leader of the women in Uganda. Because it is passion.
Yeah.
It's a calling. It's a calling. So now, the last woman in that village, whether it is in Itojo, whether it's in your village in Masindi, or it's in my own village or my cell in Mbale City, we must have a forum where people meet regularly. Is it a month? But with a resemblance or with the presence of a government person who can now bring back feedback, Mildred.
Yeah.
Who can bring back feedback that you said this and this in the village or in the parish, this is what government is saying. If we don't do that, then the communication will always have gaps. And when the communications have gaps, you can never get feedback or you can never get back what is due to the community.
Oh, yeah.
You've talked about that biggest challenge is the bridging the gap of communication from the village or the household to the government structures. And the drivers of all this is the Ministry of Local Government, which is now supposed to communicate. In this sub-county, if there's a problem of Ministry of Health,
it takes it over.
If it is the issues of river, of water, safe water, Ministry of Water. If it's an issue of agriculture, which is actually the biggest issues, poor seeds, no extension services, workers are not working, extension workers. That one is in the Ministry of Agriculture, extension workers. But Ministry of Local Government must name the sub-county, they link people, the workers, and link to the sector ministries. We want government to work for people. And we know which ministry is supposed to help wananchi. So I'm talking about this because the bulk of Uganda's women are in the villages.
In the local governments.
The highest you can find them is the parish, where the parish model now is. Going forward, sub-county, district, national, they become fewer. You can only find that they are big numbers when you are counting them. There are many, but in the villages, behind the courtyard, in the home there. But these are the people that are game changers to the socio-economic transformation that is in our NRM manifesto as a member of the party. We launched it the other day, but also in the National Development Plan, NDP4, which we've already launched and is running.
All right, as I still talk to Honorable Lydia Wanyoto Mtende, who is a presidential advisor, senior presidential advisor, special duties, but also the flag bearer of the NRM in Mbale City. In Kololo right now, the president is taking on his inspection of the Guard of Honor, is the parade that has been mounted for him, that is at Kololo Independence Ground. And as that does happen, immediately after that, he will be following up the program to listen to the various speeches and also him be able to deliver a message for Ugandans on this 63rd independence anniversary. Remember, he has had to take off some time from the campaign trail to be able to come and officiate at the celebration of independence, because he is still the incumbent in as much as he is a candidate who is seeking re-election in the Uganda's elections come next year, 2026. Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, you are definitely participating in the elections. You are the flag bearer. How would you speak of the political conversation of Uganda 63 years later?
We've come a long way. Many of us are able to speak to, like myself, I'm able to speak more to the governance and the 40 years of Uganda since 1996, 86, because when I left university in the mid-90s, I formed a government of the NRM and sit there. And I've seen that we had to write a constitution for Uganda.
Yes.
It meant that the one before was not working for us. It was not in line with the aspirations. So we wrote a new one of 1995, and being a lawyer, I've been able to understand the spirit of what happened. Even in the preamble, we talked of our difficult history.
Yes.
So it means that even if we had a constitution before 1986, it didn't work for Uganda. So it's one thing to have a rule of law written in law, in some book called the Constitution. But the spirit of the people, what they want, is very important.
What they aspire.
And that has been the challenge, or that has been the biggest challenge, to align Uganda's aspirations and expectations to who is in government and how we are going to get out of our past. Because our past is a shadow, you always look behind and you fear.
Yeah.
We had conflict, we had people running up, we had people being displaced, we had people going in exile, and yet we had achieved self-governance, which we are now counting 63 years since then, in 1962. But we were not stable. We had the conflict, we had war, we had self-hate. So the campaign that I see as a Ugandan, growing up in Uganda, having gone to school in Uganda, practicing and living as a professional in Uganda, also in politics, I realize that our biggest problem now is to get back on the rail. It's like we keep saying, don't take us back, don't take us back. Despite the challenges we have today, the fears we have is that whenever anybody says something, we say, you remember, because even if many of us were not old enough or grown before 1986, we know, we've read, Mildred, we've read about our history.
Very much.
People have written, our relatives have told us through the oral stories how they ran. So nobody has to go back to pre-1986. But now where we are going, there are new challenges also. Because poverty is a threat. In our security professional work, we list threats which are not gun related. You see? You say threats other than war. War is open war of guns, of bombs. But we also have war with silent guns, which now I think are predominant in Uganda. The threat, the war of poverty. We still have people in Uganda who cannot put food on the table. If you measure, don't talk about $1. For me, if you measure from my community, I come from Bugisu, Mbale City, you just see someone who cannot put food on the table. Somebody who cannot wear a decent cloth. Someone who does not have a shelter where to sleep, a blanket. That one is poor. You don't need to talk about money in terms of an equivalent of $1, which is 3,600. Because in my village, 1,000, you can have a meal.
Yeah.
But we have people who cannot put food on the table. Those are poor. So poverty is a threat to Uganda. And it's not for you, Mildred, who is the poor. It's a leadership question. No Ugandan should be hungry.
Availing opportunities for people to have
that is it.
Money.
Food security. The next one is unemployment, especially for younger people. Not just, there's what they call disguised. Mildred, you are here, but you are not here. People think you are earning, but what you are earning is actually...
You're masquerading.
You are masquerading.
Yeah.
We want gainful employment. Unemployment is a war issue. It is a threat. It is a threat to our country. So it's not enough to have silent guns. We must resolve the issue of unemployment. We should not wait for young people to come out of skilling institutions, whether it's a university, whether it's a college, whether it's a skilling hub. Then when they leave, you begin, hey, you're so-and-so's daughter, Mildred. Where are you now? I finished school 2 years ago. Even the skill could be disappearing. Like for practical skills, you know, when you're driving, if you stop driving for 1 year, you can lose the skill. When you're on a laptop, a computer, when you stop using it for 1 year, you lose the skill. You begin losing the modules you used to know. So it's very, very important that we plan ahead of the skills. For goodness sake, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, UBOS, tells us how many younger people, how many people are skilling, how many skilling. We should plan. If this year we know that we are going to have, out of the 54 chartered universities in Uganda, we will have 20,000 medical students graduating. There should be a plan ahead
for the
to deploy them. It's only them to refuse. But let them find their name, Dr. Mildred Tuhaise, sponsored Gulu Medical Hospital, or even a health facility, because you are treating people.
Yeah.
We must reduce the ratio to people medical care ratio. Every health worker must be able to manage an average of maybe 100 Ugandans. That should be the planning. So the churning out, we shouldn't have a situation where you have churned medical workers, they have graduated, like I see some of them. Then when they graduate, That's when they begin saying, oh, we have 20,000. They are now striking. That should never be the case. The same with the teachers, the same with engineers, the same with every profession, even the new media experts. Because the country has liberalized, but liberalization does not mean that we do not have regulatory institutions, because Uganda must be managed within. We must have a relationship with the private sector to absorb people, the public sector to absorb people, and to go and train leaders. You see, because we have not guided the human resource capital, everybody says they can be leaders. That's why you have problems, because not everybody is a leader.
That's true.
So you end up with people who are never meant to manage your the leaders of Uganda are supposed to manage, to be clever enough that a small basket of our revenue is managed by those that were groomed to be leaders, selfless, and there are not many.
Thank you. Thank you,
There are not
Lydia.
many.
We continue with this conversation with Councillor Lydia Wanyoto here, and the President right there is still going on with the inspection of the Guard of Honor, inspecting the parade, particularly that has been mounted in celebration or in commemoration of the 63rd Independence Anniversary under the theme, a reason to double our 63 years of independence, a reason to double our efforts in sustaining a united progressive nation. That is the theme for the celebrations. He is just right about now concluding with inspecting the Guard of Honor, and thereafter we will see officially the start of the program for the day today, what messages will be coming through, what special representations are we having of the different people. All that we will be getting to see and know at a later stage. But this is all happening at the Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. It's a specific place exactly as well where the Union Jack was lowered and the Ugandan flag was hoisted on midnight of 9th of October 1962. But still with me in studio, of course, to speak about the journey so far and reflecting on it, Councillor Lydia Wanyoto Mutende. And as we go about with this, there are quite a number of challenges that we have had or still have as a country. There is the issue of what we now call patriotism, uniting together, identifying as one single person. Where do you think we're still lagging, that we get unpatriotic tendencies of or what we now speak against, which is sectarianism as a country?
It starts from tracking the human resource of the country. Other countries that have succeeded in what you are asking is they are able to absorb the data of people. When you are born, you are entered into a government system. When you start school, you are tracked. When you advance in school, you are tracked. By the time you reach the age of public life, which is the age of 18 for the Ugandan constitution, there is direction, the roads are open. Those of you that are into sports and talent, you are taken to sports and talent. Then they grow your skills there. Those of you that are good at other skilling, you're taken. Those of you that seem to have been modeled into leadership and governance like myself, I was a student leader from school. It didn't just happen. In school, I was a leader. At university, I was a leader, you remember? And now I've been in leadership. So that tracking must be there. So that we don't have what I would call, for lack of a word, wastage. You can't have wasted human beings. It should never happen. Yes, you must track them and give the different directions. Their journeys must be shaped. So that when you are growing up, you find your track is ready along with the way. You just naturally follow where you fall. That is, that path, that trajectory, that path of growth in Uganda has not been very well defined. That explains why we cannot track even P7 dropouts. There are P7 dropouts. We cannot account for them. And how do you get no P7 dropouts? Is you get the results of UPE, of UNEB. Because when they sit you P7, these are 13-year-olds. But those who enrolled at SP1 will not be the ones that come out at it. So where are those ones? Even parents must be told that if your child did not reach the P7 UNEB, PLE, or whether they reach and they're not able to advance. The next level should be so obvious to be directed after P7. The same happens in AC4 because now we have UPE. Okay, if you UPE and the government says no child should remain at home, that's a good catchment area, Mildred.
Exactly.
But along the way, how do you direct the different trajectories, the different track roads? That now you, after P7, this is the road.
And
after P7, after S4, this is where you go.
Yeah.
After senior 6, this is the. It is not clear, and that relationship must very closely tracked between parents and the government. Government means school management.
Lydia, I want to just hold you because this is a very instrumental happening because it was that moment exactly in 1962 that we were all waiting for, that the Ugandan flag went up as the Union Jack was going down. The Union Jack, which represented our colonialists, of course, was coming down as we were hoisting the Ugandan flag. And that is why today we talk about the 63 years of independence. How does this make you feel as a Ugandan, as we continue with the conversation, but such a moment of pride? What does it spark in you as a Ugandan?
You see, until you moved out of Uganda, beginning like that, you not appreciate how important it is to be a citizen of a country with an address, with a national ID, with a passport, and with an address of you come from Mbale City. And you proudly say it because people in Mbale are watching, but the whole country knows my identity. Nothing beats identity. It cannot be bought.
It is you.
It is you. That's what defines you. That I'm a Ugandan from Mbale City. In the map of Uganda, I can be located. So identity cannot, it surpasses everything. And to me, asking me, that is the center of pride. Our identity as nationals. And as a citizen of Uganda, you can lack everything else, but at least you're a citizen of a country. You cannot be called a homeless. No, you have where you come from. And where you come from is Uganda. When you get to Uganda, you are defined to a particular community, which is Mbale State for my case. So I'm proud to be Ugandan, but again, also more proud to know that I'm a woman that has taken up the opportunities that our country provides and beyond. Because for me, I'm a case for beyond. You give me something, I stretch it to the best I can, to my potential and beyond.
There is President Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who has just finished officiating, of course, going through the Guard of Honor and inspecting the parade itself, and he is moving back to his seat. Before we officially start off the day's event, and Honorable Lydia, of course, this will draw us closer to wrapping up our conversation. One that we cannot leave aside, and because you are a lawyer, is the conversation about democracy and rule of law for Uganda. 63 years later, what do you see?
The conversation is about the achievement we've made as a country of self-governance and appreciating and recognizing the many times we have fallen but have had capacity to stand. Because since 1962, we have fought not to be stateless. Because there are times where people have become independent, then the state has been overrun. And you become, you lose the state power. But we have maintained being an independent country. We have maintained being self-governance despite the challenges, despite the many times we have fallen. Now, beyond the governance now, we believe that we are stable enough to confront other challenges or to confront other needs like socioeconomic transformation, fighting poverty, which are also other threats, which are threats other than war. So we are, the whole campaign, even now that we are talking about politics, this year, these 2 months, we have already developed our NRM manifesto, but the biggest focus is on empowering youth, women, and Ugandans economically. What we are talking about, economic transformation and socio-economic transformation at household level. We are looking for households. We're no longer talking about general things. We are tracking where you live, Mildred. Where do you live? And we will come and see the basics and how else we can channel support so that as a Uganda, you live with dignity, you live with pride, you also utilize your own potential to achieve a better life in your own country. That's where the struggle is now. Yes.
And for democracy, away from just, the
democracy, we are trying to...
Some have said that we go through the ritualistic way of...
Every 5 years have been happening consistently, and that's a good thing. If you are not happy with the person you voted 5 years ago, or has not been meeting your expectations, you have hope that after 5 years, like we have now, we elected people in 2021,
yeah.
Now 2026 we are having another chance. So it is for you to reflect and take stock, to reflect and say restock. Do we still want Mildred? We want to change. That chance is there. But beyond that, we want to see how else governance can work for Uganda. Can we negotiate? Can we be inclusive? Because also, waiting for election alone is not enough, because people now say this process can be abused. But we have other ways of inclusive governance, so that people do not only look at you've lost an election, that's the end of life, or that's the end of your participation in governance. There should be other models for our country where there's inclusive governance opportunities.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. Seeing the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda there leading the prayers clearly means that we have officially kicked off the events happening at Kololo Independence Grounds. And I want to say a special thank you to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us whisk you away from Kololo.
I was in Kololo. You brought me here, but I'm happy that I came.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sparing time to be with us.
It's my birthday. Thank you for wishing me good wishes.
We are waiting for the
an independence child. Yes, thank you. It will come. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, allow us now take you over officially to Kololo Independence Grounds for the 63rd Independence celebrations of Uganda.
Thank you. We thank you very much for every beautiful thing we have received. We worship you. We exalt you. We give you thanks. There is no one like you. Every knee must bow, and every tongue must confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. So we thank you, King of Kings. But Lord, for the last 63 years, we are human beings. We ask you for forgiveness where we may have gone wrong, where we may have hurted each other, where we may have failed to forgive. Forgive us where there is corruption, tribalism, hatreds. Forgive us. We pray, Lord, for our country that there is reconciliation here and there, right from our families and from our neighbors. We pray that, Lord, you will help us to have economic independence. We will have jobs created more and more. And now we pray for this political season. We pray for peaceful campaign, peaceful elections. We pray for electoral commission. We pray for all leaders, and we pray for ourselves. As we celebrate more years in our country, we pray that peace will prevail. Help us to learn to speak to each other. Help us to learn to talk to each other. Help us to promote dialogue over fights. Help us to respect one another. Help us to be and continue to be a God-fearing country as our motto is. Lord, we bless you and we bless every person here present. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. In the name of the Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, O Allah, all praise is due to you, the creator and the sustainer of everything, the most gracious, the most merciful. O Allah the Almighty, gathered here today on this occasion backing
63 years of our country's independence are your servants to ask your favors and seek your guidance on the important issues of this country that are to be deliberated upon throughout this occasion. You said in the Holy Quran that blessed is he to whom you have given wisdom. Give us wisdom to seek your divine blessings. We beseech you, Allah, to expose our country to the true spirit of equality and to guide the world by the same spirit and the scripture to lasting peace, security, and progress. Our Lord, give us the trust and the integrity so that we may keep our allegiance to this nation for better generations to come. Give us the love, compassion, and fidelity so that we may not be slaves of prejudice and hate. We ask you, Almighty God, for the willingness to sacrifice for the good of society and the courage to turn our backs to the evils of corruption, bribery, and embezzlement. Give us the humility to embrace the gift of learning and a good judgment so we may reject all forms of ignorance with confidence and honor. We beseech you, Almighty God, to let us grow a wellspring of high values, insights, and energy from this occasion for the enhancement of social unity and establishment of collective faith against all kinds of evil and misdemeanor. Empower us through this occasion to turn the history of the people of this country and beyond from a position of weakness and disadvantage to that of strength and prosperity for the good of our entire society. Almighty God, we pray to you to give us and our leaders in government the gift of serving our community with the grace of nobility, of servanthood, as leaders, as intellectuals, as scholars, and academicians of charity and justice. O Allah, as we approach the upcoming general elections, grant clarity to every voter. Protect the electoral process from deceit, corruption, and violence. Inspire citizens to fulfill their civil duty with sincerity and wisdom. Guide the election officials to execute their responsibilities with fairness and integrity. We pray that you guide and protect our beloved leader, the president of this nation, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the First Lady, the First Family, his government and the legislature, judiciary, and the entire people of Uganda. Bless our president with the continued good life, protection, and wisdom, and the courage to lead our nation prosperity and the true independence. We beseech you, Almighty, to answer our prayers. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We ask for permission to proceed with the march past.
Gwaride itapita mbele kwa heshima, kwa mwendo wa pole na mwendo wa haraka. Kundi cha kwanza kiongoza wasita kwa ujumla, chapa mguu.
Your Excellency, sir, this year's parade is mounted by the Uganda People's Defense Forces, Uganda Police Force, the Uganda Prisons Service, and they are being commanded by Colonel Adnan Kale. The band is mounted by the Uganda People's Defense Forces Band, the Uganda Police Force Band, and the Uganda Prison Service Band. We just appreciation to you, sir, for the professionalization of the security forces that Ugandans are experiencing. I invite our guests to enjoy the music.
The Board, Management and Staff of Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, PPDA, congratulates His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and all Ugandans on the occasion of our 63rd Independence Anniversary. This year's theme, 63 Years of Independence, a reason to double our effort in sustaining a united and progressive nation, calls on us to strengthen unity and rededicate ourselves to national progress. At PPDA, we reaffirm our commitment to regulating for results by ensuring transparency, accountability, and value for money in public procurement for the benefit of all citizens. Any questions on public procurement? Visit our website www.ppda.go.ug, email info@ppda.go.ug, or call +256 414 311 100. Happy 63rd Independence Day, Uganda. The Board of Directors, Management and Staff of Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, UCAA, congratulate His Excellency the President and all Ugandans as we celebrate freedom, unity and progress on the 63rd Independence Anniversary. We salute the people of Uganda for their patriotism and unity, and we honor those who continue to contribute to our nation's advancement. Together, let us keep flying higher as we build a prosperous future. Today, we celebrate a journey powered by resilience, unity, and transformation. Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, UETCL, joins the people of Uganda to celebrate 63 years of independence under the theme, 63 Years of Independence, a reason to double our effort in sustaining a united and progressive nation. Your strength and spirit continue to define our beautiful nation as we build a brighter future together. Congratulations and a happy Independence Anniversary as we continue transmitting for transformation. The Inspector General of Police, Senior Command Team and all officers of the Uganda Police Force wish to congratulate His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Vice President, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Cabinet, Members of Parliament, the Judiciary and the nation at large on this auspicious occasion marking 63 years of Uganda's independence. We pledge continued services through our mandate of keeping law and order. Long live His Excellency. Long live Uganda, for God and my country.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, the last two guards are from the Uganda Wildlife Authority, the people in charge of our game parks.
The East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP, congratulates Ugandans on this glorious celebration of independence. Uganda at 63. Stretching 1,443 kilometers from Kabale, Hoima in Uganda, to Chongoleani, Tanga in Tanzania, EACOP, a 24-inch buried thermo-insulated crude oil pipeline, is the most innovative and smart pipeline system in the world. Today, the project is 72% complete, with all 1,540 kilometers of pipe manufactured and delivered through Dar es Salaam port for coating at the thermo-insulating plant in Sojo, Nzega, 200 kilometers buried. EACOP is more than the delivery of an engineering project. It represents a shared aspiration for economic growth, energy security, and regional integration. Over 10,000 jobs have been created for Ugandan and Tanzanian nationals, and 45% of the project's contracts awarded to Ugandan companies, with engineers, welders, suppliers of goods and services, gaining skills, building businesses, and growing towards attaining high middle-income status. EACOP is also investing in communities through our socio-economic investment initiatives. More than 80 community projects have so far been funded through our socio-economic investment pillars: future generations, water solutions, community health and safety, sustainable energy and environment. Through our livelihood restoration program, we are supporting project-affected households by providing vocational training and income-generating tools to improve the livelihoods impacted by the pipeline project. To date, 177 replacement houses have been constructed and handed over, while over 1,500 youth along the pipeline route have received hands-on vocational training. Additionally, the project is implementing agriculture improvement programs and enterprise development initiatives that have so far benefited 3,000 households. Through the Running Out of Trees Roots campaign, over 500,000 trees have been planted, demonstrating our commitment to protecting the environment and ensuring development remains sustainable. The EACOP Academy, a capacity-building initiative, is equipping Ugandan and Tanzanian youths with the skills and knowledge to actively participate in and benefit from the project, with a total of 141 students currently enrolled. Safety and sustainability remain our highest priority. Every stage of construction follows strict international standards, protecting both people and the environment. Our goal is not only to deliver fast oil, but to deliver lasting value to Uganda and East Africa for generations to come. Happy Independence 2025.
The board, management, and staff of UEGCL congratulate His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Tibuhaburwa Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Cabinet, and all Ugandans on this auspicious occasion of the 63rd Independence Anniversary. As we commemorate this milestone, UEGCL commits to remaining a critical driver to Uganda's economic development and growth through safe generation of reliable, quality, and sustainable electricity. All our plans and operations are geared towards fostering Uganda's industrialization agenda as we make a qualitative leap into a higher middle income status. The Board, Management and Staff of Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, PPDA, congratulates His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and all Ugandans on the occasion of our 63rd Independence Anniversary. This year's theme, 63 Years of Independence, a reason to double our effort in sustaining a united and progressive nation, calls on us to strengthen unity and rededicate ourselves to national progress. At PPDA, we reaffirm our commitment commitment to regulating for results by ensuring transparency, accountability, and value for money in public procurement for the benefit of all citizens. Any questions on public procurement? Visit our website www.ppda.go.ug, email info@ppda.go.ug, or call +256 414 311 100. Happy 63rd Independence Day, Uganda. The Board of Directors, Management and Staff of Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, UCAA, congratulate His Excellency the President and all Ugandans as we celebrate freedom, unity and progress on the 63rd Independence Anniversary. We salute the people of Uganda for their patriotism and unity, and we honor those who continue to contribute to our nation's advancement. Together, let us keep flying higher as we build a prosperous future. Today, we celebrate a journey powered by resilience, unity, and transformation. Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, UETCL, joins the people of Uganda to celebrate 63 years of independence under the theme, 63 years of independence, a reason to double our effort in sustaining a united and progressive nation. Your strength and spirit continue to define our beautiful nation as we build a brighter future together. Congratulations and a happy Independence Anniversary as we continue transmitting for transformation. The Inspector General of Police, Senior Command Team and all officers of the Uganda Police Force wish to congratulate His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Vice President, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Cabinet, Members of Parliament, the Judiciary and the nation at large on this auspicious occasion marking 63 years of Uganda's independence. We pledge continued services through our mandate of keeping law and order. Long live His Excellency. Long live Uganda, for God and my country.
Your Excellency, in the quick march, the parade was joined by Wazalendo Sacco, the UPDF Savings and Cooperative Society, Savings and Credit Society, the biggest circle in the country. Men and women in uniform have joined the saving culture.
Abaliwo mu gy'ekinaana mujjukira Okelo alabika azuukidde kati. Thank you. Thank you.
Mheshimiwa Rais, huo ndio mwisho wa gwaride. Naomba kutoa bendera uwanjani, Mheshimiwa Rais. Kunde bendera. Toa bendera uwanjani.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, to mark this year's independence celebrations and anniversary celebrations, the Uganda Manufacturers Association has been running a trade show in Umasho ground in Lugogo. Ugandans and guests that are here are welcome to visit the show ground. It's on the less than 2 kilometers from here and see for themselves what the exhibitors have for us, both manufactured locally and also from our fraternal sister nations across the continent. Mwebali engalo ezo. Parade commander hands over to his deputy. That's accountability.
Sawa, chukua madaraka.
Sawa, parade commander, huo ndio mwisho wa gwaride. Naomba kutoa gwaride uwanjani. Sawa, parade commander. Endelea.
Colonel Kale hands over to his deputy or second in command. I request for a round of applause for the parade commander for a job well done.
Walinde kutoka uwanjani kwa mwendo wa haraka. Kikundi cha kwanza chikiongoza wa sita kwa ujumla. Toka.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well done, Parade Commander. Your Excellency, we were joined by various guests. The VIPs shall
Wenda haraka. Usawa kushoto. Mbele, tuma.
I was saying, Your Excellency, the VIPs shall be recognized by the main director of today's program, the Honorable Minister for the Presidency, Honorable Mary Babirie Babaranda. Your Excellency, sir, on this occasion, we were joined by the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, who is standing in for the Chief of Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Sam Okiding, the Commander of Air Forces, Lieutenant General Charles Okidi, the Commander of the Reserve Forces, Lieutenant General Charles Otema Awany, the Chief of Joint Staff, Lieutenant General Jack Bakasumba, Major General Richard Otto, Major General Moses Rakitarate, Major General Sam Kiwanuka, Major General Wilberforce Serunkuma, Major General James Kinarwa, Brigadier General Chris Bagamba, Bagonza Sole, Brigadier General D. Aragony, Brigadier General Wycliffe Keita, Brigadier General Moses Wandera, Brigadier General Ernest Nwagaba, Brigadier General William Bainomcha, Brigadier General Godwin Karugaba, Brigadier General Chris Ogwal, Brigadier General Julius Biyabarema, Brigadier General Richard Karemire, Brigadier General Edward Amanya, Brigadier General Mike Nyarwa, Brigadier General Metland Bitumbika, Brigadier General Emmanuel Kanyesije, Brigadier General James Nambale, Brigadier General Godfrey Goloba, Brigadier General Robert Rutainama, Brigadier General Honorable Charity Bainababo, Brigadier General Fred Mwesigwa, Colonel S.R. Mwebaze, Colonel James Regaba. A later addition is Brigadier General Paul Namawa, Chief of Staff of the Special Forces Command. Also, we are joined by our retired generals, Major General Stephen Kashaka, Brigadier General J.G. Etiang, Brigadier General Francis Achoka, Brigadier General Joram Kagezi, and Brigadier General Jesse Anyuang. From the Uganda Police Force, Your Excellency, sir, we are joined by AIGP Namutebi Hadija, AIGP Waswa David, AIGP Mwesigwa Frank, AIGP Kafero Moses, AIGP Damuria Christopher, AIGP Nwagaba John, AIGP Nwajira John, I beg your pardon, AIGP Nwabine Lawrence, Acting AIGP Mubiru Andrew, AIGP Bariamu Isaki Felix, AIGP Apora James, and AIGP Abwana Joseph. From the Uganda Prison Service, we are joined by beg your pardon. In the meantime, let me recognize the defense attaches that joined us. They include Brigadier General Nev Nadeshika, my apologies, Nadeshisa, from the head of IMAT India, that's the Indian Military Training Team, Lieutenant General Barigel Sebastian, DA France, Colonel Pilot Ahmed Hab, Defense Attaché Egypt, Colonel Patrick Nkandwa, DA Kenya, Colonel Deo Vijirimana, DA Burundi, Colonel Emmanuel Zindana, DA Rwanda, Colonel Abebe Legese Kebede, DA Ethiopia. In the meantime, let me invite my colleague, Alice Mwanguzi, to recognize other guests.
Your Excellency, one of the points in the 15-point program was the restriction of the cultural institutions. So we have got a number of cultural leaders here. His Royal Highness Isabaruli of Bururi Kingdom, His Royal Highness the King of Bugisu cultural institution. We have His Royal Highness Paul Sunday Emorimo Papa of Iteso, His Highness Moses Odongo of, we also have His Royal Highness Robert Obara Omwenenga, King of Bugwe Kingdom, and Right Honorable Ambassador George Atim, Secretary General of Uganda Kings and Cultural Leaders Forum. Your Excellency, Honorable Kulaije and I have been assistants to the Honorable Minister of the Presidency, Honorable Mili Babirie Babalanda. Tunaomba Mheshimiwa Rais, tunaomba the Minister for the Presidency aendelee na program.
Madam Alice is trying her best to learn Kiswahili, na kushukuru sana na kupongeza. Your Excellency, I beg to inform our guests, there are two magazines in circulation here. The magazine from the Office of the President, 63rd Independence Day, and the magazine from the EPDF, Tarehe Sita. Let our guests enjoy the reading. Honorable Minister, you are welcome.
Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Uganda, Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, National Chairperson of the mighty Party NRM, our Chief Patriot and champion in the fight against HIV and AIDS, our hero in the fight of COVID-19 and champion of wealth creation, our presidential flag bearer 2026-2031, General Retired Mzee Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, you are most welcome to Kololo Independence Grounds. Mama, the First Lady and Mother of the Nation and Minister of Education,